My mother opened champagne before she told me my marriage was over. Not good champagne. The peach-colored bottle she kept in the garage refrigerator beside my father's fishing bait and 6 jars of mustard. Still, there were glasses on the table, and Vanessa was sitting in my usual chair with the soft, solemn expression people wear when they're about to enjoy your tragedy. Sometimes, my father said, one person just wins. The word hung there between the pot roast and the bowl of peas. My mother reached for my hand. I moved it before she could touch me. Vanessa's phone lit up beside her plate. Ben. She turned it face down without reading the message. I didn't ask for this, she said. Her voice trembled beautifully. Vanessa could make a grocery list sound like courtroom testimony. But I'm not going to apologize because somebody finally chose me. My husband had been gone from our house for 2 nights. My sister believed he was waiting for her. My parents had apparently decided champagne was appropriate. What none of them knew was that Ben had already made his choice. What Vanessa didn't know was that it was the last message he would ever send her. 6 months earlier, she came back to Bellwether with 4 suitcases, a dying fern, and a ceramic bowl she claimed had been made by a woman outside Santa Fe. It says Target on the bottom, I told her. That's a price sticker. It's printed into the ceramic. She looked down at it, then at me. You've always had a weird need to ruin things. We were standing in the parking lot of her new apartment building while cold March rain found its way down the back of my collar. Vanessa's divorce had been final for 11 days. My mother had counted each one like a hostage negotiator. Vanessa's ex-husband, Aaron, had kept the condo in Phoenix, the leather sectional, and most of their mutual friends. Vanessa had kept the Subaru, the fern, and a level of fury that made ordinary objects seem personally responsible. Her apartment was on the 2nd floor. The elevator had a handwritten, "out of order" sign taped over the button. Of course, she said. I looked at the 4 suitcases. She looked at me. You know I have that thing with my wrist. What thing? It gets weak. From what? Stress. I carried the first 2 suitcases upstairs. By the 3rd trip, she was standing in the doorway directing traffic with a coffee she had somehow found time to buy. My mother arrived wearing white jeans and carrying 1 throw pillow. Look at this place, Diane said, as if Vanessa had been assigned a prison cell. It's so temporary. It's a 12-month lease, I said, emotionally temporary. My father came 20 minutes later with a toolbox and immediately began criticizing the hinges. Frank Mercer distrusted any screw he had not personally tightened. He was 67, built like a retired refrigerator, and had recently developed the habit of making a soft grunt whenever he stood up, as if surprised by gravity. Cheap construction, he announced. It was built in 1989, I said. Cheap decade. Vanessa walked from room to room opening cabinets. She was 35, 3 years younger than me, though our mother referred to her as if she had been born during a natural disaster and never fully recovered. Where am I supposed to put everything? Vanessa asked. You said Aaron kept everything, I said. She stopped at the kitchen counter. Why are you being hostile? I'm not. You're doing the voice. What voice? The efficient one. My mother sighed. Claire, today is hard enough. That was how it worked in our family. Vanessa could put a knife on the table and I could be blamed for noticing it was sharp. I had taken the afternoon off to help her move. I had also reserved the truck, picked it up, driven it, and bought the tape. Vanessa had packed her bathroom by dropping the contents of 3 drawers into a laundry basket. Halfway through unloading, a bottle of bronzer cracked open and coated my shoes in something called Desert Radiance. Ben arrived after work carrying 2 pizzas and a 6-pack. Vanessa's whole face changed when she saw him. There he is, she said, the only reliable Mercer. He's not a Mercer, I said. Exactly. Ben kissed me on the cheek, then glanced down at my sparkling orange shoes. New look? I'm radiant. You're something. He smiled, and despite the wet hair stuck to my forehead and my mother saying, "Careful with the grease," before he had even set down the pizzas, I felt my shoulders loosen. Ben had that effect on rooms. He wasn't loud or especially charming in the obvious way. He just noticed where the tension was and put a small joke beside it. People mistook that for ease. It wasn't. I knew how hard he worked at seeming comfortable. He handed Vanessa the beer. "To fresh starts," he said. Vanessa looked at him for half a second too long. At the time, I thought she was trying not to cry. "To spectacular public failures," she said, lifting the bottle. "They build character." "Then you must be incredible by now," Ben said. She laughed, a real laugh, low and startled. I laughed too. That's one of the details I hate remembering. We were all still innocent enough to find each other funny. We ate pizza sitting on boxes because Vanessa had no chairs. My mother peeled the cheese off her slice and ate only the crust. My father disappeared under the kitchen sink without being asked. "Aaron used to hate pizza night," Vanessa said. "Aaron hated joy," Diane said. "Aaron was lactose intolerant," I said. My mother gave me a look. "You don't have to defend him. I'm defending his intestines." Ben coughed into his napkin to hide a laugh. Vanessa studied the label on her beer. He said I was exhausting. No one spoke for a moment. Rain tapped the windows. Frank knocked something metallic beneath the sink and muttered, "That's not right," with the satisfaction of a man whose darkest suspicions had been confirmed. Ben leaned forward, forearms on his knees. "People say ugly things when they want their leaving to feel justified," he said. Vanessa glanced at him. "Did you read that somewhere?" "No, I've left places. Not Claire." He looked at me then. "No." My mother smiled as if Ben's answer belonged partly to her. "Claire has always been the steady one," she said. "Even when they were girls. Vanessa would feel everything, and Claire would handle everything. There are family compliments that become job descriptions if you don't refuse them early enough." I stood and gathered the paper plates. "Claire used to pack my lunch," Vanessa told Ben. "Mom packed your lunch. Mom bought the food. Claire organized it. She means I put chips in a bag. She used to write my name on my yogurt, so you wouldn't steal mine." Vanessa smiled. "See? Steady." She said it affectionately. That was what made our relationship hard to explain. Vanessa wasn't cruel every minute. She could remember exactly how I took my coffee. She once drove through a thunderstorm at 2 in the morning because I had a migraine and Ben was out of town. She also borrowed my black dress for a funeral and returned it with the hem cut off because she had decided the length was oppressive. I loved her. I just never knew which version of her would arrive. By 8, Diane had compiled a list of things Vanessa needed: curtains, lamps, a coffee table, a better lock, some kind of shelving situation, and company for the weekend. "I have plans Saturday," I said. My mother blinked. "What plans?" "Ben and I are going to Columbus." "For what?" "A concert." "What concert?" I stared at her. "Do you need the band's tax returns?" "Don't be silly. I'm asking because your sister shouldn't be alone her first weekend." "I'll be fine," Vanessa said softly. It was the exact tone she used when she wanted someone to disagree. Diane did. "Of course you won't." "We bought the tickets in November," Ben said. My mother turned toward him, rearranging her face into something warmer. She was better at hearing boundaries from men, though she treated them as opening offers. "Maybe Vanessa could go with you." "To our anniversary concert?" I asked. "It's not your anniversary. It's the anniversary of our first date." Diane laughed. "You two celebrate everything." "We like each other," Ben said. That shut her up for almost 4 seconds. Then Frank emerged from under the sink and announced that the garbage disposal was a death trap, which gave my mother a fresh emergency to love. We left at 9:30. Ben drove because I was tired and because my shoes had become tacky. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets black and glossy under the traffic lights. At the first red light, he reached over and squeezed my knee. "You okay?" "Fine." The efficient voice. I turned toward him. "Whose side are you on?" "Yours. I just happen to know the voice." I leaned my head against the seat. The concert had already become a problem I would be expected to solve. My mother would call Friday afternoon and say Vanessa was spiraling. My father would call 10 minutes later and pretend he needed help choosing a new drill. Vanessa would text that she was fine, followed by a period heavy enough to alter the tides. Ben tapped the steering wheel. "We're still going," he said. "I know." "No, you're saying you know in the way you say you'll sit down after you clean the kitchen. I do sit down. You fold laundry sitting down. That's not leisure. That's a different angle of labor." I smiled despite myself. He glanced at me. "Claire." "What?" "We're going to the concert." "Okay, and we're not spending Sunday building your sister a Swedish particle board grief shrine." That was weirdly specific. I saw the boxes in her bedroom. The light changed. I watched the dark storefront slide past. She really is a mess. I know. She lost her whole life. She lost a marriage. That's not her whole life. To her, it is. Ben was quiet long enough that I looked over. "What?" "Nothing. You made the face." "What face?" "The face where you decide not to say something and then act like you've performed a kindness." He exhaled through his nose. "I just wonder when everybody decided you're the emergency generator. That's dramatic. You took off work today. She needed help moving. She needed movers. She can't afford movers. Your parents can. They're trying to be careful with money. Your mother bought a $900 patio umbrella. She gets migraines. From the sun? Apparently the sun is very aggressive in their backyard." Ben laughed, then shook his head. I knew he was right. I also knew that being right did not make my mother less relentless or Vanessa less alone. There was always a practical reason to give in. That was the genius of my family. They rarely asked for your soul all at once. They asked for Saturday, then your truck, then the good towels, then acted surprised when you had nothing left but resentment. At home, I left my ruined shoes by the back door and found 3 missed calls from my mother. "She works fast," Ben said. I played the voicemail on speaker. "Claire, honey, I was thinking about the locks at Vanessa's place. Your father says they're probably adequate, but you know how he minimizes things. Also, she didn't eat much tonight. Maybe you and Ben could have her over tomorrow. Nothing fancy. She likes that chicken you make." Ben opened the refrigerator. "We don't have chicken. She believes in me." My phone buzzed again. This time it was Vanessa. "Thank you for today. Sorry I'm such a burden." I typed, "You're not a burden." Before I could send it, another message appeared. "Tell Ben thanks too. He always knows what to say." I looked across the kitchen. Ben was holding a jar of pickles in one hand and staring into the refrigerator like the answer to dinner might step forward voluntarily. I sent the message. Then I told Vanessa she could come over the next night. Ben looked up when I said it. For a moment, I expected him to argue. Instead, he closed the refrigerator and said, "Sure. I'll pick up chicken." That was the first brick. None of us knew yet what we were building. He picked up chicken, potatoes, green beans, and a bottle of wine with a label that looked expensive enough to discourage my mother from criticizing it. Vanessa arrived carrying another bottle of wine. "I didn't know what goes with chicken," she said. "Usually, hunger. You're so domestic now." I put food in an oven. Exactly. She had changed 3 times. I knew because she told me before taking off her coat. She was wearing a cream sweater that made her look soft and expensive, though I had been with her when she bought it for $12 from a clearance rack. "You look nice," Ben said as he took the wine. Vanessa glanced at me. "See? That's how people are supposed to respond. I said you look nice in the picture. You said the sweater looked less beige than the other one. It was a lighting question." The doorbell rang before we reached the kitchen. My mother stood on the porch holding a salad bowl. "I'm not staying," she said as she stepped inside. Diane had never successfully not stayed anywhere. "I thought you and Dad were going to the Landrys," I said. "We are. I just wanted to make sure you had something green. I made green beans. I mean fresh. The beans were alive this morning." She carried the salad into the dining room and stopped when she saw the table. "Oh, you're eating in here. That's why the plates are here. I just thought it might feel formal." Ben took the bowl from her. "We'll try to survive." My mother smiled at him. He could say things that would have earned me a 15-minute conversation about tone. Then my father appeared behind her with a bag of dinner rolls. "We're not staying," he said. "You're wearing slippers," I told him. He looked down as if his feet had betrayed classified information. "Your mother rushed me." 5 minutes later, they were seated at the table. Ben added another chicken breast to the cutting board and sliced it thin enough to feed 5. I opened the second bottle of wine. Vanessa sat beside him. My mother had taken the chair beside me, explaining that she needed better light for the green beans. "How was your first night?" Ben asked. "Terrifying. The upstairs people walk like they're moving a piano. They might own a piano. They move it every 11 minutes. Exercise." Vanessa smiled. "I slept with a lamp on." My mother touched her arm. "Oh, honey. It's an apartment, not a cave," I said. "Claire," Diane warned. "What?" I'm reassuring her. "I'm 35, Vanessa said. "I'm allowed to be afraid of the upstairs piano, of my life." That quieted the table. Vanessa had always possessed the ability to push a joke until it broke and then stand in the pieces looking wounded. Frank reached for a roll. "You'll get back out there." "Dad," I said. "What?" "She will. I don't want to get back out there." Vanessa cut her chicken into tiny squares. "The whole thing is disgusting." "The chicken?" Ben asked. "Men." He nodded. "Fair. You're a man." "Allegedly. You're also married. That's different." Ben glanced at me. "I'm still pretty sure I'm a man." Vanessa laughed and my mother relaxed. She had spent the last few minutes watching Ben like he was a demonstration model for the concept of marriage. "How do you two do it?" Vanessa asked. "Do what?" I said. "Stay happy." "We complain privately," Ben said, "about each other, about your mother." Diane nearly inhaled a green bean. Frank laughed so hard he had to put down his fork. Even I laughed, though I kicked Ben under the table. He caught my foot between his ankles and held it there. "You're terrible," my mother told him, delighted. The evening might have stayed harmless if Diane had not brought up the concert. "What time are you leaving Saturday?" 3, I said. "And coming back? Late." "So that's the whole day. It's part of the day." "That's how time works." Vanessa stared at her plate. "I told you I'm fine." "I didn't say anything," Diane said. "You're doing the mouth." "What mouth?" "The martyr mouth." Frank chewed his roll and examined the ceiling. My mother put down her fork. "I only wish the timing were different." "There will always be something," Ben said. His voice was calm, but I felt the change in him. He could tolerate my family's demands until they touched something he had been looking forward to. Then his patience became very organized. "I'm not asking you to cancel," Diane said. "You're asking us to feel guilty until we volunteer. I don't appreciate being characterized that way." Vanessa pushed back her chair. "I'm going to the bathroom." The door closed down the hall. Diane looked at me. "Was that necessary?" "I didn't say it." "You agreed with it." "I didn't say anything." "You have a very expressive silence." Ben released my foot. "That's on me," he said. "Sorry, Diane." She softened immediately. "I know you didn't mean anything." He had meant every word. My parents left after dessert, which we had not planned to serve until Diane found vanilla ice cream in our freezer. Frank carried the salad bowl to the car. Diane hugged Vanessa for almost a full minute in the front hall, murmuring things about strength and healing. When the door shut, Vanessa leaned against it. "I think her support is making me worse." "Try growing up with it," I said. I did grow up with it, not the same version. Her expression shifted. It was small, but I saw it. "You think she loves me more." I picked up the empty wine glasses. "I think she worries about you more. That's not what I asked." Ben began stacking plates. I wanted him out of the room. I wanted the question out of the room. "It's not a contest," I said. Vanessa gave a short laugh. "That means yes." She walked down the hall and shut herself in our downstairs bathroom. I stood there, holding 4 wine glasses by their stems. "Well," Ben said, "dinner was fun. She's drunk. She had 2 glasses." For Vanessa, that's enough to become Russian literature. He took the glasses from me and set them on the counter. You okay? Why does everybody keep asking me that? Because you keep saying you're fine like it's a threat. I opened the dishwasher harder than necessary. She wanted me to say, Mom loves her more. Does she? My mother loves whoever is bleeding. That isn't an answer. It's the only one I have. The bathroom door opened. Vanessa came back with her face washed and her mascara gone. Without it, she looked younger, though not fragile. Vanessa had a strong face, sharp cheekbones, square chin, our father's straight nose. She hated that nose on herself and loved it on me. I'm sorry, she said. I expected the apology to come toward me. It went to Ben. For what? Making dinner weird. He looked around. You had competition. She smiled faintly. I carried the plates to the sink. Behind me, Ben told her that nobody expected her to be okay 11 days after a divorce. His voice was gentle and matter-of-fact. Vanessa said Aaron had been seeing someone before he left, though she had no proof and no real desire to find any. Ben said sometimes certainty didn't bring peace. It just gave pain a mailing address. I turned on the faucet. It was a good line. Ben had plenty of those. He was terrible at direct conflict and excellent at the sentence you remembered afterward. When Vanessa left, she hugged me longer than usual. Have fun Saturday, she said. We will. I mean it. I know. She hugged Ben, too. The next afternoon, my mother called twice about Vanessa's locks. Friday morning, she called because Vanessa had not answered a text in 43 minutes. Friday night, Vanessa sent me a picture of takeout cartons on her counter. Look, feeding myself. I sent back a trophy emoji. Saturday, Ben hid my phone in the glove compartment. I need it for the tickets. You can have it when we get there. What if somebody calls? That's the purpose of hiding it. We had been together 12 years, married for 9, and every so often he still surprised me by refusing to negotiate. Usually it irritated me. That afternoon, it felt like being rescued from a burning building I had insisted was comfortably warm. We drove to Columbus with the windows cracked and an old playlist from when we first started dating. Ben sang badly on purpose. At least, I believed it was on purpose. At a gas station outside Dayton, I bought sour candy and he bought coffee strong enough to strip varnish. We stood beside the car in the wind while he tried to remember what I had worn on our first date. The blue dress, he said, gray sweater, blue underneath. A tank top isn't a dress. It had straps. So does a backpack. He pointed at me with his coffee. You wore the earrings. What earrings? The silver ones shaped like leaves. I had forgotten those. I'd lost one years ago in a hotel bathroom. You remember my earrings, but turned left on a red light during the date. It was allowed. It was not. No one died. That's not the traffic law. He smiled and kissed the sugar from the corner of my mouth. For several hours, my family could not reach me. The world continued. The concert was loud and crowded and better than either of us expected. Ben kept one hand at the small of my back as we moved through the lobby. During the encore, he leaned close and shouted, "This is our song, about a song that had not existed when we met. You say that about every song you like. We have a broad history." On the drive home, I took off my shoes and put my feet on the dashboard. Ben complained because he had once read an article about airbags and now considered himself personally responsible for my knees. My phone was waiting in the glove compartment. 9 missed calls. "Don't," Ben said. "I'm just checking." Claire. What if something happened? Then it already happened. I looked at him. That sounded darker than I meant. Most of the calls were from my mother. One was from my father. There were 3 texts from Vanessa. The first said, "Mom is losing her mind." The second was a photograph of an unassembled bookcase surrounded by boards and plastic bags of screws. The third said, "Tell Ben I tried his trick with the little wooden pegs." I think I made it worse. I read it twice. What trick? Ben kept his eyes on the highway. She texted me earlier about the bookcase. When? This afternoon. At the concert? Before. I told her to put the pegs in first. She texted you? He glanced over. Is that weird? No, it wasn't. Vanessa had his number from a family group thread. Ben was better at furniture than I was. Nothing about it was strange enough to name. She says she made it worse. I'm sure it's fine. You should probably look at it. I thought we weren't building the Swedish grief shrine. That was before she put the pegs in wrong. He smiled. We can go tomorrow. My mother had left a voicemail accusing us of disappearing. My father's message said, call your mother, followed by a long pause and, not right now, give it an hour. I laughed. Then another message came in, this one to Ben. His phone lit the dark car between us. Vanessa, thank you for today. You always know how to calm me down. Ben read it, shook his head, and placed the phone face down in the cup holder. At the time, that felt like nothing. A polite response to a lonely woman. A small private kindness. The kind of thing I had spent my whole life providing. The bookcase was worse than she had suggested. One side stood upright against the wall. The other lay across the carpet beside 6 shelves, 3 wooden pegs, and enough leftover hardware to construct a small bridge. Ben crouched over the instructions. How did you get to step 9 without doing step 2? I don't believe in rigid systems. It's a bookcase. That's what it wants you to think. Vanessa was wearing leggings and one of our father's old college sweatshirts. Her hair was twisted on top of her head, held in place with what looked like a pencil. Did you use a hammer on this? Ben asked. I used the flat part. All parts of a hammer are hammer. I barely tapped it. He held up a board with a crescent-shaped dent. Did the hammer have a personal issue with this corner? I laughed. Vanessa did too. Ben looked pleased with himself and returned to the instructions. He had brought his drill, a rubber mallet, and a divided plastic case filled with screws. The organization of it would have aroused my father. I started unpacking books. Vanessa had brought fewer than 30. Most were oversized travel books about places she had never visited, arranged in color groups. I found an old paperback with a cracked spine beneath a book about coastal Italy. You still have this? She glanced over. Of course. It was a mystery novel we had passed between us one summer when I was 16 and she was 13. We had written insults to each other in the margins. Page 42 said, Claire thinks the doctor did it because she has no imagination. Underneath, in my handwriting, Vanessa thinks every man is in love with her. I closed the book. What? She asked. Nothing. She took it from me, found the page, and laughed. Accurate. You were 13. I had instincts. Ben held out his hand. Let me see. No, I said. Vanessa gave it to him. He read the notes, smiled, and handed it back. You two were brutal. She started it, we said together. For a moment we were girls again, our elbows touching on the carpet. Our mother somewhere beyond a closed door where she could not rearrange the meaning of things. Then my phone rang. Diane. Ben looked at the screen and kept tightening a screw. You don't have to answer. She'll keep calling. That doesn't mean you have to answer. That is exactly what it means. I stepped into the kitchen. My mother was whispering, Claire, I need you not to panic. I wasn't panicking. Your father's back went out. In the living room, Frank was clearly visible through the balcony doors, standing in the parking lot with both hands in his coat pockets. I turned away from the window. What happened? He bent over to pick up a newspaper and couldn't straighten up. Is he on the floor? No, he's in his recliner. The man in the parking lot rocked back on his heels and inspected the sky. Mom, Dad's here. Silence. Then, what? I'm looking at him. Frank noticed me through the window and raised one hand. My mother cleared her throat. He must have decided to come. From the recliner? I don't understand why you're interrogating me. What do you need? The pharmacy closes at 4. There it was. She had forgotten to pick up a refill and wanted me to drive across town because she had already changed into what she called her house clothes. Can't you go? I've been watching your father all morning. He's 20 feet from me. I meant emotionally. I closed my eyes. Behind me, Ben said, ask her what she needs. I covered the phone. Prescription. No? She needs it. She wants it. My mother said, I can hear him. Ben raised his voice. Good. I gave him a look and stepped farther into the kitchen. Text me the information. Thank you, honey. I knew I could count on you. That sentence had been the lock on my cage for most of my life. When I returned to the living room, Ben was fitting the shelves into place. Vanessa sat cross-legged beside him, sorting screws. You're leaving? She asked. I have to pick up a prescription. For Dad. Mom, is she sick? No. Vanessa nodded as if that explained everything. I can finish this, Ben said. It won't take long. The pharmacy is the other direction. Just meet me at home. I hesitated. Vanessa held up both hands. I promise not to attack your husband with the hammer. She only uses the flat part, Ben said. I tossed him the car keys. Don't let Dad help. He'll make you take it apart to inspect the dowels. Frank came upstairs as I was leaving. He no longer appeared disabled. He was carrying a level. Your mother called you? He asked. Yes. He winced. You could have picked it up. She said you needed me here. For what? She said Vanessa might need shelving. I stared at him. He stared back, sincere and confused, two qualities that allowed my parents to lie to each other without technically collaborating. You're back, okay? He straightened. Why? No reason. The pharmacy did not have the prescription ready. My mother had never called it in. I waited beneath fluorescent lights for 35 minutes while an elderly man argued about a coupon and a display screen played the same silent animation of smiling people drinking water. When I brought the bag to my parents' house, Diane was in the kitchen slicing lemons. You're an angel. I'm a person with other things to do. You were helping Vanessa. I was spending Sunday with my husband. She gave me a puzzled look, as if those could not be the same afternoon. Well, he's with her. The knife moved cleanly through another lemon. My mother did not look up. I couldn't tell whether she meant anything by it. Diane was gifted at releasing sentences that became poisonous only if you examined them. Why did you tell me Dad's back went out? It did. He seems fine. He improves when he's useful. Maybe he should have picked up your prescription. Why are you trying to start a fight? I'm not. There's that voice again. I put the pharmacy bag on the counter. You didn't call it in. I thought I had. You always think you have. She slid the lemon slices into a pitcher. And you always make sure things work out. There was no point asking if she hurt herself. People like my mother hurt exactly as much as they intended to. Ben got home an hour after I did. He smelled faintly of sawdust and the vanilla candle Vanessa burned in every room. Bookcase standing, I asked. Against all odds. Dad interfere? He tried. Vanessa distracted him with the garbage disposal. Smart. Ben set his drill case on the counter, then stood behind me while I chopped onions. He put his chin on my shoulder. You abandoned me. My mother committed pharmaceutical fraud. That seems dramatic. She fabricated an injured husband. Did you get the drugs? Yes. Then the system works. I turned and kissed him. He tasted like coffee. What did you and Vanessa talk about? He reached around me and stole a piece of onion, then immediately regretted it. Nothing much. You were there 2 hours. Your dad was there for half of it. We discussed anchors, load distribution, and the moral collapse of modern plywood. And after he left, her divorce. The knife stopped against the cutting board. What about it? She wanted to know if I thought Aaron was seeing somebody. What did you say? That I had no idea. Good answer. She thinks he left because she was too much. That's what he told her. Was she? Too much for Aaron? Probably. Aaron thought seasoning was confrontational. Ben smiled, but not for long. She's pretty beat up. I know. I don't think your mom helps. She doesn't. She talks to Vanessa like being left is a disease. She talks to me like staying married is a household skill. He rested his hip against the counter. That's not why we're married. I know. Do you? The question came out lighter than it felt. I looked at him. He picked up another onion piece, remembered the first one, and set it back down. I'm just saying, your family turns everything into a role. Vanessa is the disaster. You're the cleanup crew. Your dad is the guy who owns a level. He does own several. And He waited. What? I don't know. The safe husband, I guess. Would you prefer dangerous? Maybe mysterious. You alphabetize spices. People can't know that. I smiled and went back to chopping, but he had left something open between us. That evening, Vanessa sent a picture of the completed bookcase to the family group. Frank replied, "Shelves look 1/8 inch, low on left." Diane sent 3 heart emojis. I wrote, "It looks great." Ben did not answer the group. A minute later, his phone buzzed beside him on the couch. He looked at it and smiled. "What?" "Vanessa." He turned the screen toward me. "Thank you for staying. Sorry I talked your ear off." Below it, before he could answer, another message appeared. "You were right about Aaron. He always made leaving sound like something I forced him to do." Ben typed, "That doesn't mean you were easy to live with. It means he was responsible for how he left. He showed me before he sent it." "You think that's okay?" "It sounds like you." "Is that a yes?" "It's a yes." He sent the message. Vanessa replied almost immediately. "Fair. Claire says you're annoyingly reasonable. I thought she was exaggerating." I frowned. I never said that. Maybe she inferred. "From what?" "Your general admiration." I took his phone and typed, "Claire says you're exhausting and should stop texting her husband." Ben laughed and grabbed for it. I held it away, but he was stronger and had longer arms. He retrieved the phone before I could send anything. "You're a menace," he said. "Tell her I'm annoyingly reasonable. You're aggressively reasonable. Tell her." He typed something, then locked the screen. "What did you say?" "That you've never admired me a day in your life." "That's accurate." He pulled me against him, and I put my feet beneath his thigh because they were cold. The television played a renovation show neither of us was watching. There was nothing hidden yet. That mattered later, when I tried to decide exactly where the betrayal began. It didn't begin with a kiss. It began with all the things we allowed because they were still small enough to joke about. The small things multiplied. Vanessa needed a lamp, so Ben helped her choose one. She couldn't figure out why her bathroom sink drained slowly, so she sent him a video of it making a wet, choking sound. She asked me which health insurance plan to select and asked him whether she should buy a record player. "I don't own a record player," he said. "You have opinions about sound. I also have opinions about sandwiches. That doesn't make me a deli." She bought the record player. By April, her name appeared in our text history, more often than some of our friends. Usually, the messages were harmless. A picture of her fern turning brown, a complaint about the upstairs piano, a question about whether unopened mustard expired. Ben included me in his replies until including me started to seem formal. Then he would mention things later. "Vanessa's coming to dinner Sunday." "Since when?" Your mom asked her. "It's our house." "She said she told you." "She did not." Or, "Your sister finally heard back about that job." "What job?" "The one at the hotel." "She applied at a hotel?" "Apparently." None of it was secret. I kept telling myself that because I thought secrecy was the line. As long as Ben left his phone on the kitchen counter and Vanessa still called me first when her washing machine leaked, everything remained where it belonged. My parents' anniversary was in June, and my mother began planning in April because anxiety was the only exercise she enjoyed. She summoned us to Sunday lunch with a message that said, "Family meeting," which made Ben ask if we had inherited a troubled corporation. "We're discussing the cabin," I told him, more troubled than I thought. The cabin sat beside a narrow lake 90 minutes north of Bellwether. My parents had bought it when Vanessa and I were in college, then spent 20 years complaining that nobody used it enough and becoming irritated whenever anybody used it differently than they would. Diane had spread index cards across the dining table. "Meals," she said, pointing to the first row, "sleeping arrangements, activities, atmosphere." "Is atmosphere assigned by room?" Ben asked. My mother ignored him. Frank sat at the end of the table with a bowl of mixed nuts. Every time Diane moved an index card, he moved a cashew into his mouth. "It's 2 nights," I said. "It's our 42nd anniversary." "I know. 42 years deserve intention." Vanessa arrived 11 minutes late carrying flowers from a gas station. I brought atmosphere. Diane kissed her and put the flowers in a pitcher. There was an empty chair beside Ben. I watched Vanessa take it, then hated myself for watching. My mother handed me a yellow legal pad. "I thought you could handle meals." "Why? You're good at logistics. I thought we were celebrating your marriage, not invading France." "You see," she said to Ben, "everything is a joke when I ask for help." Ben looked at me, wisely refusing the invitation. Vanessa picked up an index card. "I'll do the playlist." "Of course," I said. "What?" "Nothing." "You make it sound like I volunteered to breathe. I'm doing 6 meals for 5 adults." "4, Frank said. "I don't eat breakfast." "You ate 2 breakfasts today," Diane told him. "The first was medication. My father believed oatmeal ceased to be food if consumed for medical reasons." Ben reached for the legal pad. "I can do Saturday dinner." "You grill," Diane said. "I can do other things." "Of course you can. But Frank likes your steaks." Frank nodded. "Medium." "You eat them well done," I said. "That's what I mean." "Middle of the grill." Ben wrote steak beneath Saturday and passed the pad back to me. Diane continued arranging cards. There would be a walk after breakfast, photographs before sunset, and a memory hour Saturday evening. "What happens during memory hour?" Vanessa asked. "We share favorite memories. Can we do it privately?" "This is why I wanted to plan early," my mother said. She looked wounded enough that I apologized, though I had not spoken. After lunch, she kept me in the kitchen to discuss napkins. Through the doorway, I could see Ben and Vanessa on the back patio. Vanessa was saying something with both hands. Ben tipped his head back and laughed. "What about linen?" Diane asked. "What?" "For the napkins." "Paper is fine. It's our anniversary." "Then linen." "I don't want you saying yes just to end the conversation. I'm saying yes because I don't care." She went still. There are sentences mothers remember not because they are cruel, but because they reveal the limits of their jurisdiction. "You don't care about our anniversary?" "I don't care about napkins. You know what I meant." "No, you know what I meant." Her mouth tightened. For 1 second, I thought I had won something. Then she said, "Vanessa would never speak to me that way." I looked through the patio door. Vanessa had taken Ben's sunglasses and put them on. He reached to take them back, and she ducked away, laughing. "She doesn't have to," I said. "You don't ask her to do anything." My mother followed my gaze. "That isn't true." "Name one thing she's doing for this weekend besides making a playlist." "She's healing." The answer was so immediate that I laughed. Diane turned toward the sink. "I hope nobody measures you by your productivity when your life falls apart. They already do. They just call it being dependable." She began rinsing plates that were already clean. Outside, Vanessa returned Ben's sunglasses. He put them on and glanced toward the kitchen. When he saw my face, his smile disappeared. He waited until we were in the car. "What happened?" "Napkins. Dangerous subject. She wants linen, then buy linen. I don't want to buy linen, then don't. She'll make it a thing. You're already making it a thing." I turned toward the window. He drove 2 blocks before speaking again. "I'm not criticizing you. You're doing a convincing imitation. I'm saying you spend more energy being angry about what she asks than it would take to tell her no. You tell her no. She's not my mother. She listens to you, only because I'm not scared of her reaction. That landed harder than he intended. I'm not scared of my mother. Okay, I'm not." "Then don't buy the napkins. You don't understand. I understand perfectly." She makes a request. You act like it's mandatory. Then you're angry at everybody for not rescuing you. I looked at him. You seemed happy enough out there. His hands shifted on the steering wheel. "What does that mean?" "You and Vanessa." "We were talking. She was wearing your sunglasses. Call the police." "Don't do that." "Do what?" "Make me sound insane so you don't have to answer." He pulled to a stop at a red light. Answer what, Claire? I didn't have a clean question. That made the whole thing uglier. Nothing. He stared at me until the light changed. At home, he went outside to sweep pollen off the deck. I sat at the kitchen table with the yellow pad my mother had made me take. Under Saturday dinner in Ben's handwriting was steak. Beneath it, Vanessa had added, in purple ink, something Claire can't overcook. I tore off the page. Then I taped it back together because I needed the meal list. Ben came inside and found me pressing clear tape over the tear. He set the broom against the wall. I wasn't asking you to rescue me from place cards, he said. Index cards, whatever. I was asking you to notice how much of our life your mother volunteers. I notice. You keep doing it. Because if I don't, it becomes worse. For who? For everyone. And we aren't everyone? I looked down at the repaired page. He sat across from me. I hate fighting with you about your family. I hate that you only get mad at me. I'm married to you. Vanessa is the one texting you every day she's lonely. So now you're the emergency generator. His mouth twitched despite himself. That was good. I hated it as soon as I said it. You should. It undermines my entire argument. I smiled, and the fight loosened around us. He reached across the table. Nothing is happening with Vanessa. I didn't say something was. You didn't have to. I let him take my hand. I know. She talks to me because I'm not Diane. That's a solid reason to talk to almost anyone. And because I don't treat her like she'll break. I don't treat her like that. No. You treat her like she'll explode. That's different, is it? Yes. Broken things are sad. Explosions require paperwork. He laughed and kissed my knuckles. We ordered the linen napkins that night. They arrived the wrong shade of blue. By May, Vanessa had found a job managing guest services at a downtown hotel. She hated the uniform and loved being asked questions she could answer. The first week, she came to our house after every shift because her apartment felt too quiet while wearing polyester. Sometimes I wanted her there. She told stories well, especially about people she disliked. She could imitate the hotel's general manager using only her eyebrows. She brought desserts from the restaurant when the kitchen had extras and remembered that Ben preferred the corner piece of anything baked in a square pan. Sometimes I would look up and realize she and Ben had continued a conversation I had missed. One Thursday, I found them on the deck discussing Aaron. I'm not saying marriage should be easy, Vanessa said. I'm saying I became his unpaid employee. Then you stop, Ben said. He left. I mean, before that. She saw me in the doorway. Ben thinks people teach their partners what they'll tolerate. Does he? He's annoyingly reasonable. The phrase struck me. She had turned my joke into their private language. Ben lifted his beer. She's been warned. I sat beside him, but Vanessa continued looking at him when she spoke. At dinner, she said she had finally blocked Aaron. Ben told her that was good. I said nothing because I had already told her the same thing 4 times. When she left, she hugged us both. Ben watched her car back out of the driveway. She's getting better, he said. Is she? I think so. She's here 4 nights a week. You invite her. My mother invites her. You don't say no. There it was again, the simple thing he thought I refused to understand. Later, in bed, his phone buzzed on the nightstand. He reached for it, read the screen, and switched it to silent. Vanessa, I asked. Yeah, what does she need? Nothing. She can't sleep. The room was dark enough that I couldn't see his expression. I waited for him to put the phone down. Instead, the faint light from the screen stayed on between us. Can you not do that in bed? The light disappeared. Ben set the phone face down. Do what? Text my sister. I was telling her to try a podcast. At midnight? She said her brain wouldn't shut off. My brain isn't loving this either. He lay back against his pillow. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. The air conditioner started with a shudder in the hallway. I'm sorry, he said. It was quiet and immediate, which made it harder to stay angry. She's gotten used to having access to you. I know. Have you? He turned his head toward me. I could make out the pale shape of his face, but not his expression. I didn't think about it that way. That's the problem. You're right. Ben reached for the phone again. The screen lit his hands as he typed. What are you saying? Good night. He showed me. Try the podcast. I'm putting my phone away. Talk tomorrow. Vanessa's reply arrived before he could lock the screen. Sorry. Didn't mean to get you in trouble. He looked at it, then put the phone in the nightstand drawer. She knows exactly how that sounds, I said. She's embarrassed. She wants you to tell her she didn't do anything wrong. Did she? You're asking me? No. I'm asking because I want to understand the rule. The rule is, don't have an intimate late-night relationship with my sister. Intimate? She's telling you she can't sleep. You're soothing her. I suggested a podcast, Claire, at midnight in our bed. He rubbed his face. Okay? Okay what? Okay, I won't do it again. He said it like a man signing for a package he had not ordered. I rolled onto my side, away from him. He did not touch me. That hurt too. In the morning, he made coffee and placed my mug beside me with the handle turned left because that was how I always picked it up. Marriage was full of gestures that could mean devotion or habit depending on how angry you were. I don't want this to become a thing, he said. It is a thing. You know what I mean. I do. You want it to stop being uncomfortable without us deciding why it's uncomfortable. He leaned against the counter. I liked talking to her. There it was. Honest enough to be dangerous. I looked down at the coffee. Why? She's funny. She asks what I think. I ask what you think. You ask after you've already decided what you're going to do. That's not fair. Maybe not. You tell me my family takes over our life, but when Vanessa takes over your phone, suddenly she's funny. His jaw tightened. She isn't taking anything over. Then stop talking to her about us. He went still. I had guessed. What have you told her? Nothing dramatic. That is not an answer. That we've been fighting about your family. She is my family, exactly. I stared at him. He looked toward the window, then back. I didn't give her details. What counts as details? I said I get tired of watching you get pulled around by Diane. I said sometimes I feel like there isn't room for me to need anything because somebody in your family always needs more. The words were familiar. He had said versions of them to me. Hearing that Vanessa had received them made them feel altered, polished for another audience. What did she say? That she understands. I'm sure she does. Don't what? Turn her into some predator because she listened to me. I didn't say she was a predator. I said she's my sister, and you're complaining to her about being married to me. I'm not complaining about being married to you. Then why does she need to know? He opened his mouth and closed it. That should have been the moment the whole thing became undeniable. Instead, it became another morning when both of us had places to be. I won't talk to her about our marriage again, he said. Thank you. And I won't text her at night. Thank you. The second thank you sounded worse than the first. He left without kissing me. At 10, my mother called to discuss disposable roasting pans. I answered because apparently self-awareness had a 4-hour expiration period. The anniversary weekend was 2 weeks away. Diane had decided we needed one roasting pan for vegetables and a separate one for potatoes because people have different feelings about rosemary. By 2, I said, I thought you were handling groceries. I am. So you'll buy them? Yes. I'm only asking. I said yes. Ben told Vanessa you do this. My hand tightened around the phone. Do what? Agree to things and then sound furious. The office around me continued being offensively normal. Someone laughed near the copier. A printer produced 3 pages with the crisp confidence of a machine that had never had a mother. When did Ben tell Vanessa that? I don't know. She mentioned it. What else did she mention? Diane's voice changed, becoming careful and pleased at once. Nothing. I just think you should pay attention. Men don't always say when they feel unappreciated. Ben says plenty. You joke when you're uncomfortable. I'm going to hang up. That's what I mean. I ended the call and immediately called Vanessa. She answered on the fourth ring. I'm working. So am I. What happened? Mom says Ben told you I agree to things and then act angry. Silence. A hotel phone rang in the background. He didn't say it like that. How did he say it? I don't remember. You remembered enough to tell Mom. I was trying to explain that you're overwhelmed. To our mother? She was criticizing him for not being excited about the cabin, so you defended him by criticizing me. That's not what happened. Then tell me what happened. Vanessa lowered her voice. Mom said Ben should be more supportive because you work hard for everybody. I said maybe you wouldn't have to work so hard if she stopped asking. I was defending you, and somehow Ben's private opinion came up. It wasn't private. Did he say you could repeat it? He didn't stamp it confidential. You're not stupid, Vanessa. I know. That's why it's exhausting when you talk to me like I am. I stood and walked into an empty conference room. Stop talking to my husband about my marriage. Her breath caught. The silence that followed was not guilt. It was injury. He talks to me. Then stop letting him. That's an interesting standard. What is that supposed to mean? It means you always act like everybody in your life belongs to you in a different way than you belong to them. I nearly laughed. He's my husband, and I'm your sister. You've spent months treating me like a duty, and now you're angry because Ben treats me like a person. That isn't why I'm angry. It's exactly why. Someone spoke to her in the background. Vanessa covered the phone, answered in the bright, professional voice she used at work, then returned. I have to go. We're not finished. I have guests waiting. Of course you do. She hung up. That evening, Ben apologized before I told him about the call. I shouldn't have talked to her, he said. No, I thought I was venting to somebody who understood the family. She understands the family in the way an arsonist understands fire. He smiled despite himself, then saw I wasn't smiling. I'm serious. So am I. I told him what Diane had said. His face changed. I never said you agree and then act furious. Close enough. No, it isn't. I said Diane puts you in impossible positions, and then I get the version of you that's already angry. That's much sweeter. I wasn't blaming you. But Vanessa heard blame. That's on her. It's on you for giving it to her. He sat at the kitchen table and stared at his hands. I'll tell her this stops. She already knows. You talked to her? Yes. How did that go? She thinks I treat her like a duty. He winced. What? Nothing. You agree with her. I think you love her. I also think you've spent years taking care of her without ever letting her forget you're taking care of her. I stepped back as if he had moved toward me. Did she say that? No. You just came up with it? Yes. After all these conversations with her. Claire. You have a whole theory about me now. I have known you for 12 years, and suddenly she's translating. He stood. No. She isn't. But she says things you won't. About me. About this family. She is this family. And you're proving my point. The fight lasted until neither of us could remember what a good ending would look like. He slept in the guest room. At 2 a.m, I stood outside the door with my hand raised, then went back to bed without knocking. The next day, Vanessa sent a message to both of us. I'm sorry I let conversations cross lines. It won't happen again. It was perfectly worded. Ben replied, Thank you. I sent a thumbs up because anything warmer would have been false and anything colder would have made me look cruel. For several days, her messages stopped. The silence should have relieved me. Instead, I became aware of it like a refrigerator turning off. Ben checked his phone more often. He did not mention her. I hated that I noticed. We went out to dinner the Friday before the cabin. He ordered for me because I was in the restroom when the server came, and he remembered I hated raw onions but liked the pickled ones. We split a piece of pie. On the walk to the car, he took my hand. I miss you, he said. I'm right here. You know what I mean. I did. I miss you too. He kissed me beside the parking meter. Not a careful, married kiss. For a few seconds, I believed attention could still return us to ourselves. Then his phone buzzed. He did not look at it. That almost made it worse. We drove to the cabin the following Friday beneath a sky the color of aluminum. The linen napkins were in a shopping bag at my feet. 2 roasting pans slid against each other in the trunk every time Ben turned. Vanessa had driven separately after work. Her Subaru was already parked beside my father's truck when we arrived. Inside, Diane directed me toward the kitchen before I had removed my coat. The refrigerator isn't cooling properly. It's cold, not evenly. Ben carried our bags upstairs. Vanessa stood at the counter cutting limes. She wore jeans and a loose gray shirt, and she did not look up when I entered. "Hi," I said. "Hey, drive okay?" "Fine." The knife tapped against the cutting board. I began unpacking groceries. After a moment, she said, "You didn't have to make him send that message." "What message?" Her hand stopped. Then Ben came down the stairs. Vanessa looked at him. He looked at her. Neither of them spoke, but something passed between them too quickly for me to catch. She returned to the limes. "I meant the group message," she said, "the apology. I didn't make him do anything." Ben picked up the grocery bags. "That's true," he said. Vanessa smiled without humor. "Good to know." The refrigerator was fine. My mother had packed it so tightly that air could not move between the containers. 3 gallons of milk stood behind 2 bottles of champagne. A glass bowl labeled "Anniversary Fruit" occupied an entire shelf and contained ordinary grapes. I rearranged everything while Diane hovered. "Don't put the meat near the cake. The meat is sealed. It knows what it is." "I don't think the cake does." Vanessa carried the lime wedges to the deck. Ben watched her go, then opened a grocery bag. "What apology message?" I asked. "The one she sent us. She said you sent something. I told her we needed better boundaries." "When?" "After our fight." "Privately?" He looked at me. I was ending the private conversation. Doing it in a group chat felt performative. Did she answer? She said she understood. That was not the reaction she had just given. "What exactly did you write?" He set a jar of pickles in the refrigerator door. "Claire." "What?" "I don't remember exactly. I said we shouldn't talk about our marriages anymore." "Our marriages?" "Hers and ours. She doesn't have one. You know what I mean." From the deck, my father shouted that the propane tank felt light. Diane shouted back that propane did not have feelings. Ben closed the refrigerator. "I'm going to help Frank." "Of course." He started to say something, then carried the grocery bag outside instead. Friday dinner was hamburgers because my mother wanted Saturday's steaks to feel distinct. She had bought tiny flags printed with the number 42 and stuck them into the buns. "Are these necessary?" Frank asked. "They're festive. They're paper on toothpicks. That's what festive is." Vanessa drank 2 margaritas before the food came off the grill. She sat with one leg folded beneath her and told a story about a hotel guest who had accused the lobby fountain of being too wet. Ben laughed in the right places, but he barely looked at her. That should have comforted me. Instead, the effort of his not looking felt visible. When I asked Vanessa to help clear the table, she lifted her glass. "I'm on Atmosphere." "You finished the playlist." "Atmosphere is ongoing." Diane touched my arm. "Let her relax." "I'd also like to relax. You're always moving. You don't know what to do with yourself when you sit. Maybe we could run an experiment." Frank stood and stacked 3 plates. "I'll help." My mother looked alarmed. "It's our weekend. It's also a plate." He carried them into the kitchen. I followed with the rest. As I scraped food into the trash, Frank dried a serving bowl that did not need drying. "You and Ben all right?" he asked. I glanced at him. "What makes you ask? You've used his full name twice. I always call him Ben, not when you're happy." That surprised me enough that I smiled. He's been talking to Vanessa. Frank considered this. "She talks. Privately." He set the bowl down. "About what?" "Us." His forehead creased. For once, he did not reach for a tool or a joke. "That's not good." "No. Does Diane know? Why would that matter? He looked toward the deck where my mother was showing Vanessa how she wanted the candles arranged. Your mother thinks attention is medicine. She won't care who prescribed it. It was sharper than anything I expected from him. Why do you let her do that? He picked up another dish towel. Same reason you do, probably. Before I could ask what he meant, Diane called him outside to move a chair 6 inches. He went. Saturday began at 6:40 when my mother knocked on our bedroom door to say the coffee tasted metallic. Ben opened one eye. Tell her metal is festive. I pressed my face into the pillow. The mattress at the cabin dipped toward the middle. During the night, Ben and I had repeatedly rolled together and separated without touching. I could feel the heat of him behind me. Your turn, I said. She's your mother. You married in. Under false pretenses. Diane knocked again. Ben got up. He was gone long enough that I followed. I found him taking apart the coffee maker while Vanessa sat on the kitchen counter eating dry cereal from a mug. Morning, she said. She was wearing a long cardigan over shorts, her bare feet swinging above the cabinet doors. Ben glanced at me. The filter was folded. Tragedy prevented. Your sister identified it. Vanessa lifted her cereal mug. I know machines. You assaulted a bookcase with a hammer. Wood isn't a machine. Ben smiled. The ease between them had returned before breakfast. We walked around the lake because Diane's schedule said morning nature. She had printed it in blue ink and placed copies in every bedroom. Frank and Ben went ahead, debating whether a fallen tree had been struck by lightning. My mother walked beside me, complaining that Vanessa's shoes lacked ankle support. Vanessa trailed behind us, stopping to take pictures. At the narrow part of the trail, Diane asked me to hold her arm. By the time we crossed, Ben had fallen back beside Vanessa. I watched them through the trees. He said something. Vanessa touched his elbow when she laughed. Don't start, Diane said. I turned. What? I know that look. What look? You're punishing her in your head. I'm walking. She's had a terrible year. Ben is being kind. Why are you monitoring my thoughts? Because your face advertises them. You're the one who said marriage means paying attention. I said appreciation. Is that different? She stopped on the trail. Claire, if you make a man feel guilty every time he talks to another woman, eventually he'll decide he's guilty of something. For a second, all I could hear was wind moving through dry leaves. Did Vanessa tell you to say that? Of course not. Did Ben? Ben doesn't complain about you to me. To her, apparently. Diane looked past me. Vanessa and Ben were close enough now to hear us if either of us raised our voice. My mother smiled. Let's not spoil the weekend. Then she continued walking. By afternoon, I had corrected the sleeping arrangements because Diane decided the blue sheets looked too cooling. Driven back to town for ice, peeled potatoes, found the anniversary candles, and removed a dead mouse from the screened porch while my father supervised from a safe emotional distance. Vanessa sat at the picnic table drinking white wine and arranging photographs for memory hour. Is there a reason every picture of me is terrible? I asked. You went through a bangs period. It lasted 6 months, a documented 6 months. She held up a picture from Thanksgiving. I was 22, bent over the stove with my hair pulled back and my mouth open mid-sentence. Vanessa stood in the foreground wearing a red dress, smiling directly at the camera. Who took that? Mom. Of course. Vanessa lowered the picture. I didn't ask her to make you work. You also didn't stop her. I was 20. You're 35 now. Her eyes hardened. This isn't about pictures. No, it's about Ben. I looked toward the dock. He and Frank were checking the grill. Ben had his back to us. What did he write to you? I thought we weren't discussing private messages. They stopped being private when you told Mom. I didn't tell her about that one. What one? Vanessa took a drink. The message where he said we shouldn't talk. You said I made him send it. I assumed. Why? Because he didn't want to stop. The answer came too fast. I sat across from her. Did he say that? He didn't have to. You're doing that thing where you imply something and make me ask for the rest. You're doing that thing where you think being calm means you aren't attacking me. Did my husband tell you he didn't want to stop talking to you?" She looked down at the photographs. "He said he was sorry." "That isn't an answer. It's the only one you're getting." She gathered the pictures and carried them inside. Memory hour began after dinner. The steaks were overcooked because Frank insisted medium meant the middle of the grill. The rosemary potatoes touched the vegetables, and nobody died. We sat around the living room with champagne while Diane distributed photographs like evidence in a trial. She told the story of meeting Frank at a bowling alley. He claimed she had approached him. She claimed he had followed her to the shoe counter. Neither version explained why they had been married 42 years, but both involved rental shoes. Frank raised his glass. "To the best decision I ever made." My mother's face softened. She kissed his cheek, and for a moment I saw what their marriage looked like from the inside. Not fair, not simple, but chosen repeatedly. Vanessa shared a memory of them driving all night to Phoenix after Aaron left. Diane cried. Frank looked at the ceiling. Then my mother handed Ben a photograph from our wedding. He and I stood beneath an arbor, laughing at something outside the frame. "What do you remember?" Diane asked. Ben studied it. Claire's hands were freezing. "That's your favorite memory?" I asked. "You kept putting them under my shirt. I was trying to survive. You nearly killed me." Everyone laughed. He looked at me over the photograph. The room seemed to contract around that look. I remember thinking I had never been that certain about anything. Vanessa set down her glass. My throat tightened. Then Diane said, "And you were right," as if certainty was hereditary and she had supplied it. Afterward, Ben found me alone in the kitchen. "I meant it," he said. "I know. Do you?" "I rinse champagne flutes. I'm trying." He placed the wedding photograph beside the sink. "I'm sorry I talked to her." "Why did you?" "Because she listened without already knowing what I was going to say. That hurt, but it was honest." "I can listen." "I know. Then talk to me." "I'm trying." I dried my hands and leaned into him. His arms came around me. For several breaths, neither of us moved. From the doorway, Vanessa said, "Sorry." We separated. She held an empty wine bottle. Atmosphere ran out. Ben stepped away from me. "I'm going to bed," he said. He kissed my temple and left. Vanessa watched him go. "You got what you wanted," she said. "What did I want?" "She stopped talking to your husband," Diane called from the living room. Vanessa's eyes flicked toward the sound. I put the empty bottle in recycling. "It wasn't yours to stop." Her face changed. Not dramatically, just enough. "You really believe that's how people work? How do they work? They go where they feel wanted." She walked out before I could answer. I stayed in the kitchen cleaning because anger made me efficient. My parents went upstairs. The cabin settled into its nighttime noises, the refrigerator humming, the dock rope knocking softly against wood, pipes clicking behind the walls. I changed into pajamas, then remembered the trash bags were in the pantry off the kitchen. The light was on when I came downstairs. I heard Vanessa first. "You look for my messages." Ben answered too quietly for me to catch. "You do," she said. "You noticed when I stopped. Vanessa, not here or not ever." I reached the kitchen doorway. They stood inside the narrow pantry between shelves of canned soup and paper towels. Vanessa's hand was against Ben's chest. He saw me. In that same second, she rose onto her toes and kissed him. He should have stepped back. He didn't. His hand closed around her arm. His mouth moved against hers before he broke away. "Claire." Vanessa turned. Nobody looked triumphant. That would have been easier. Ben looked sick. Vanessa looked frightened and furious, as if I had interrupted a truth she had been promised. I stared at my husband. "Tell me I saw it wrong." He opened his mouth. Behind me, a floorboard creaked upstairs. Ben's face collapsed. "You didn't," he said. Vanessa wrapped both arms around herself. I kissed him. I kept looking at Ben, and I kissed her back. he said. The honesty was almost obscene. I pointed toward the front door. Leave. Claire, please. Not the room, the cabin. It's after midnight. I know what time it is. He took one step toward me. I stepped back. That stopped him. Vanessa said, "He doesn't have to drive." I turned to her. Her face went pale. I didn't mean, I know exactly what you meant. Ben picked up his keys from the counter. I'll call you when I get somewhere. No. What? Do not call me. Do not go home. Do not make me wonder whether you're in our bed waiting for me to calm down. Where should I go? For 12 years, I had answered that kind of question for everyone. This time, I didn't. Ben stood there another second, his keys clenched in his hand. Then he walked out. The front door closed. His car started in the gravel and disappeared down the dark road. My mother reached the bottom of the stairs in her robe. What happened? Vanessa looked at me. She was already waiting to see which version I would carry for her. I told the truth. Vanessa kissed Ben. He kissed her back. My mother looked at Vanessa first, not at me, not even toward the door Ben had just gone through. At Vanessa. Oh, honey. Vanessa's arms tightened around herself. I didn't plan it. Diane crossed the kitchen and touched her face. Something inside me went very still. Mom. She turned as if she'd forgotten I was there. She kissed my husband. I heard you. You're comforting her. She's shaking. So am I. Diane looked at my hands, then back at my face. You don't look like you are. Frank came down the stairs wearing pajama pants and one sock. What's going on? Nobody answered. He took in the empty kitchen doorway, Vanessa crying beside the pantry, my mother's hand on her shoulder, and me standing barefoot by the sink. Where's Ben? I made him leave, I said. Why? Because he kissed Vanessa. Frank looked at her. Vanessa flinched as if I had struck her. It happened for 1 second. It was longer than 1 second. How would you know? I was watching. My voice cracked on the last word. Diane stepped between us. That's enough. I laughed. I could not help it. Enough for who? For tonight. Everyone has been drinking. We're all emotional. I'm not drunk. I didn't say you were. You said everyone. Claire, stop parsing every word. Vanessa wiped her face with both hands. I'm sorry. I looked at her. She seemed to expect something from the apology. A question, a chance to explain. Maybe a familiar path toward making me responsible for how terrible she felt. I gave her nothing. Frank, I said, I need a ride home. My father looked toward the dark windows. Right now? Yes. It's nearly 1. I know. We could all sleep and talk in the morning, Diane said. I'm not sleeping in this house. It's a cabin. Thank you, Mom. I'm saying you're upset. My husband kissed my sister in a pantry, and your concern is accurate building terminology. Don't make me the enemy because you're angry at Ben. There it was. She had found a way to place herself in the center and claim injury. Frank went upstairs without speaking. He returned wearing jeans, both socks, and a sweatshirt. He picked up his truck keys. I'll take you. Diane stared at him. You can't drive 90 minutes in the middle of the night. I can. Your night vision, Diane. He said her name quietly. She stopped. I went upstairs for my bag. Ben's clothes were folded in the dresser. His charger was plugged into the wall. The dent he had made in his pillow had not yet risen. I took the wedding photograph from Memory Hour off the nightstand. I didn't know why it was there. Ben must have carried it up after we spoke in the kitchen. In the picture, we were laughing beneath the arbor. I put it face down and left it. Frank turned off the radio as we pulled away from the cabin. Gravel snapped beneath the tires. In the side mirror, my mother stood on the porch in her robe. Vanessa was behind her, almost entirely hidden. We drove 10 miles before my father spoke. You sure he kissed her back? Yes. He said so? Yes. Frank nodded once. Trees moved through the headlights and disappeared. I'm sorry. It was the first thing anyone had said to me that did not require an answer. I pressed my forehead to the cold window. At a gas station halfway home, Frank bought coffee and a package of powdered donuts. He returned to the truck with white sugar on his sweatshirt. "You want one?" "No." He ate two without tasting them. "Your mother will try to fix it," he said. "She can't. That won't stop her. Whose side are you on?" He looked down at the donuts. "I'm on the side where nobody does anything else tonight. That's not a side. It's the one I'm good at." He started the truck. As we pulled back onto the highway, he said, "Don't make any permanent decisions before you've slept. I made Ben leave. That doesn't have to be permanent. Would you say that if he'd kissed somebody else?" Frank took too long to answer. It was one mistake. No. It was 100 decisions that got small enough to hide inside one mistake. He stared at the road. I didn't know where the sentence came from. It felt true before I fully understood it. At home, every room looked staged. Ben's coffee mug sat upside down on the drying mat. His shoes were beneath the bench. A jacket hung over the back of the dining chair because he believed chair backs were an extension of the closet. I picked up the jacket, walked toward the closet, then dropped it on the floor. My phone buzzed. "I'm at the Cedar Rest. I'm safe. I won't come home." A second message followed. "I'm sorry. I know that's useless." I typed 3 different answers and deleted them all. Frank stood in the doorway. "You want me to stay?" "No." "You sure?" "Yes." He looked around the house as if Ben might be hiding behind furniture. "I'll call in the morning. Don't tell Mom where he is. I won't." He hugged me awkwardly, one arm around my shoulders. My father's hugs always felt improvised. After he left, I sat on the kitchen floor until sunrise. Ben knocked at 9:14. I knew it was him because he knocked twice, paused, then once more. He had done that since we bought the house. I opened the door but did not move aside. He looked terrible. His shirt was wrinkled, and he had a red mark along one cheek from sleeping against something textured. "I need clothes," he said. "Okay, I also need to talk to you." "No." "Claire, you can talk while you pack." He followed me upstairs. I sat on the edge of the bed while he opened drawers. He took too many t-shirts and no socks. "You'll need socks." He stopped. The ordinary sentence broke something in his face. "I'm so sorry. Take socks." He put 6 pairs into his bag. "It was the first time," he said. I looked at him. "The first time what?" "Anything physical happened." "Physical." I know how that sounds. "Do you?" "We never kissed before. We never touched. Not like that. What counts as not like that?" He sat in the chair across from me. "I don't know. You seem to have developed a very flexible vocabulary." She touched my arm. I hugged her when she was upset. "At our house?" "Once there, once at her apartment. You hugged her twice, probably more. I didn't count." "Then why did you say twice?" "Because those are the times I remember feeling like I shouldn't." I closed my eyes. He continued because silence frightened him. "I liked that she wanted to hear from me. Did you want her?" "No." That was fast. I wanted the way I felt when she wanted me. Which is different because I don't love her. You talked about me with her. You waited for her messages. You kissed her. She kissed me, and you kissed her back. Yes. The words sat between us, clean and brutal. Why? He looked at his hands. I was angry. At me? At everything. At you. At her. At myself for caring whether she was ignoring me. "So you punished me with my sister?" "No." "Then what did you think would happen?" "I didn't think. You had months to think." He covered his mouth with one hand. I wanted him to deny more. I wanted to catch him lying because anger was easier when it had a target that moved. Instead, he kept handing me pieces sharp enough to cut both of us. "Did you tell her you were miserable?" I asked. I said I felt invisible sometimes. To Vanessa. "Yes." "Did you tell her you would leave me?" "No." "Did you tell her you had feelings for her?" "No." "Did you?" He looked up. "I don't know what they were." "That isn't good enough." "I know. You keep saying that because I do. No. You know what happened. You don't know what it cost." He stood, zipped the bag, and lifted it from the bed. "Tell me where you want me to go. I don't care. You do. I care where you don't go. Don't go to her. Don't come back here. The rest is your problem. I'm not going to Vanessa. I believed you when you said nothing was happening." His eyes filled, and I hated him for making me see it. He left the house with the wrong clothes and 6 pairs of socks. At 11, my mother called. I did not answer. At noon, Vanessa called. I did not answer. At 1:30, Diane sent, "Your sister is devastated." I turned off my phone. What I didn't know was that Frank had told my mother Ben was at the Cedar Rest. He did not think the location mattered. Diane told Vanessa because Vanessa was pacing the cabin and saying Ben would never speak to her again. By 4, Vanessa was knocking on his hotel door with an overnight bag. Ben opened it but did not let her inside. She later told my parents he had looked frightened. She said my ultimatum had made him feel trapped and that he needed time to admit what he wanted. What actually happened was less flattering. He told her the kiss was a betrayal, not a beginning. Vanessa asked why he had spent months turning toward her if he planned to pretend it meant nothing. He said it had meant something: attention, escape, cowardice, but it did not mean a life with her. She asked whether he was going back to me. He said that decision was no longer his to make. Then he closed the door. My father called at 5. "Your mother wants you to come to dinner." "No." "She says it's important." "No." A pause. "I'm not feeling great," he said. I sat up on the couch. "What's wrong?" "Stomach." "Is it the donuts?" "They didn't help." "Do you need a doctor?" No, just come over. I should have known." Frank never asked for help directly unless Diane was standing beside him supplying the need. Still, I went. The peach champagne was already open when I arrived. Vanessa sat in my chair at the dining table. My mother wore lipstick. Frank would not look at me. "Sit down," Diane said. "I thought Dad was sick. He was upset." "That isn't what he said." "I said stomach," Frank muttered. "I didn't say sick." Vanessa's phone lay beside her plate, face down. My mother poured champagne into 5 glasses, though Ben was not there. "What is this?" "A conversation," Diane said. "It looks like a celebration. Nobody is celebrating." Vanessa lifted her chin. "I went to see Ben." The room narrowed. "And?" "He's confused." My father picked up his fork, though there was no food on it. "He wouldn't let you in," I said. Vanessa's expression flickered. "He's afraid of making things worse." "He should be." Diane reached for my hand. I moved mine. "Sometimes," Frank said, staring at the empty fork, "one person just wins." Vanessa looked at me with tears shining in her eyes. "I didn't ask for this, but I'm not going to apologize because somebody finally chose me." Her phone lit beside her plate. "Ben." For 1 second, she looked down at his name. Then she turned the phone face down without reading the message. I looked at the black rectangle of her phone. "What did he say when you went there?" Vanessa's eyes shifted toward our mother. "He said a lot. Name one thing." "He said he needed space. From me or from you? Both of us." Diane sat down beside her. "This interrogation isn't helping. I'm not interrogating you. You're upsetting your sister." My father finally put down the empty fork. "Claire, nobody planned for this to happen. You opened champagne. That was your mother." "Frank?" "What?" "It was." Diane's face sharpened. The champagne was meant to make a difficult conversation less hostile. Alcohol famously does that. "Stop joking." I leaned against the back of a chair because my knees had begun to feel unreliable. "What exactly are we discussing?" My mother folded her hands. "How to move forward without destroying this family." I waited. She seemed to believe that was a complete answer. "Ben kissed Vanessa," I said. "Vanessa kissed him," Frank corrected, "and he kissed her back." "A mistake," he said. "One you think she won." He looked embarrassed, but not enough to take it back. Vanessa's voice was soft. "He's been unhappy for a long time. You know that because he told you while you were helping him betray me. I listened to him. You encouraged him. I cared about him. Was that before or after you started imagining where your furniture would fit in my house?" Her face crumpled. Diane stood. That was vicious. It was a question. Oh, you want her humiliated. I came here because Dad pretended to be sick. "I did have a stomach problem," Frank said. "You ate powdered donuts at 2 in the morning. That wasn't public information." My mother glared at him. He looked down. I almost laughed again, and that frightened me. Humor had always been the small door I used to escape my family without physically leaving. Now even that felt locked from the outside. Diane placed both palms on the table. "Vanessa has lost enough." The words settled everything. Not because they were surprising, because she said them without noticing what they meant. And I haven't? You still have your home, your career, your stability. "My husband left. You made him leave." I stared at her. Vanessa said, "Mom, no." Claire needs to understand that she has choices here. Throwing Ben out was a choice. Refusing to hear him was a choice. She cannot make every decision and then blame the outcome on everyone else. You think I should have let him sleep beside me after I watched him kiss my sister? I think marriages survive worse. Yours hasn't had to. My father moved in his chair. Diane's eyes flashed. "You don't know everything about my marriage." "Then tell me. Did Dad kiss one of your sisters? Don't be obscene. Why is it obscene when I say it and a mistake when she does it?" Vanessa rose so quickly her chair scraped the floor. "I didn't steal him." "Then why are you celebrating?" "I'm not." "You're sitting in my chair drinking champagne while Mom negotiates the transfer." Her glass shook in her hand. "He came to me." "No, you went to his hotel with a bag." She looked at Frank. My father closed his eyes. "You told her?" she asked. "He told Mom," I said. "Mom told you. Did anybody in this family go 1 hour without passing around someone else's private life?" Vanessa's phone buzzed again against the table. This time she grabbed it and held it in her lap without looking at the screen. "He would have come to me eventually," she said. The confidence sounded borrowed. Then read his message. Her fingers tightened around the phone. "I'll read it when I want." "Of course." Diane stepped closer to me. "Please don't punish everyone because you're hurt." That was the sentence, the old command dressed as concern. When Vanessa wrecked a birthday, I was told not to punish everyone by sulking. When she borrowed money and forgot to repay it, I was told not to punish everyone by mentioning it at Christmas. When she cut my dress, took my car without asking, arrived late to my rehearsal dinner, or called crying during my honeymoon because Aaron had gone camping with friends, my reaction was always the threat to the family. Vanessa made the wound. I was responsible for whether it bled on the carpet. "I'm not punishing anyone," I said. My voice sounded unfamiliar. "I'm leaving." Diane sighed. "Running away won't solve it. I'm not running. You invited me here under false pretenses, opened a bottle, and told me my sister won my husband. There's nothing here to solve." Frank stood. "That's not what I meant." "What did you mean?" He rubbed the back of his neck. "That sometimes people connect. You meant she won. I used the wrong word. You used the right one. That's why it hurt." Vanessa looked down at the phone in her lap. I wanted her to read the message. I wanted to watch whatever certainty she had borrowed leave her face. Then I realized that would still make Ben the judge, and us the contestants. "You can have him if he chooses you," I said, "but you don't get me too." Her head lifted. "What does that mean?" "It means don't call me. Don't come to my house. Don't ask me to make this easier for you. Claire, and Mom can handle her own prescriptions." Diane's mouth opened. I walked out before any of them found a new emergency. My father followed me to the driveway. "Wait," I unlocked my car. "Claire, she hasn't been herself." "Which one?" He stopped. The porch light turned the powder on his sweatshirt into a pale smear. I'm sorry about dinner. You lied to get me here. Your mother thought if we could all talk, you knew about the champagne. I knew she opened it. You sat there. He looked toward the house. I didn't know what to do. That's what you always say after you've done what she wanted. He flinched. For a moment, I saw the man who had driven me home, bought coffee he did not need, and offered the only clean apology I had received. I loved him. That was the problem. Love kept presenting one decent moment as evidence against a lifetime. I need you to go inside, I said. Are you going home? Yes. Alone? Yes. He nodded slowly. Call me when you get there. I did not promise. Ben's car was parked 2 blocks from our house. When I turned onto our street, he sat behind the wheel with the engine off. I stopped beside him and lowered my window. What are you doing? He looked startled. I wanted to make sure you got home. How did you know where I was? Frank called. Of course he did. I didn't ask him to. Everybody keeps knowing things they didn't ask to know. Ben looked toward our house. Vanessa came to the motel. I heard. I didn't let her in. Congratulations. I'm not asking for credit. Then why are you telling me? Because she's going to lie about what happened. She already did. His face went blank. What did she say? That you're confused. That you're afraid of me. That you chose her and need time to admit it. I told her the opposite. I figured. She brought a bag, I know. He gripped the steering wheel. I sent her a message after she left. I told her never to contact me again. Okay, I told her I didn't leave you for her. You didn't leave at all. I put you out, I know. There it was again. Streetlight cut across his face. He looked older than he had at the concert, though only weeks had passed. I'm sorry your family did that, he said. You helped them. Yes. The answer stopped me. He could have defended himself. He could have separated the kiss from the dinner and declared one betrayal unrelated to the other. Instead, he accepted the whole ugly chain. I have to go inside. Okay, don't sit out here. I won't. He started the engine before I drove away. Inside, I locked the door and stood in the dark entryway. My phone rang. Vanessa. I rejected the call. She called again. On the 3rd attempt, I answered. What? Her breathing was fast. What did you tell him? Nothing. He sent me this because of you. I didn't know he was sending anything. You must have said something. I've had one conversation with him since the cabin. It was mostly about socks. This isn't funny. No, Vanessa, it really isn't. She made a strangled sound. He says I turned his failure into a victory. I sat on the bottom stair, so she had finally read it. What else does he say? You know what it says? I don't. He says he didn't leave you for me. He says you made him leave because he betrayed you, like I'm the only person who did something wrong. Does he say that? No. But read it. I'm not reading you a private message. You called me to accuse me of causing it. He says the kiss was selfish. He says his conversations with me were disloyal. He says there is no situation where he and I are going to be together. Her voice broke. I waited. He says not to contact him again, she whispered. The victory dinner had ended quickly. What did Mom say? I haven't told them. Why not? Because they'll think I lied. You did lie. I thought he was afraid. You thought he would change his mind. Silence. That's different. No, please don't tell them. I laughed once without humor. You're asking me to protect you from the people who just celebrated what you did to me. Mom will never let this go. She lets everything go when you do it. You don't understand. What don't I understand? Her breathing steadied. Then she said, Mom told me he was unhappy before I ever said anything. I stood. What? She noticed how he looked at family dinners. She said you treated him like one more thing on your list. When did she say that? I don't remember. You do. It was months ago. Before the bookcase? I don't know. Before you started texting him? I said, I don't know. What else did she tell you? Vanessa began crying again. She said if you kept making him come last, eventually somebody else would make him feel first. The house seemed to tilt around me. And you decided that somebody should be you. I didn't decide anything. You bought a record player because he had opinions about sound? That's insane. No, it's pathetic. There's a difference. She went silent. I regretted the word as soon as I said it. Not enough to take it back. Don't tell Mom about the message, she said. You don't get to ask me for anything. I ended the call. Then I walked to the ceramic bowl beside the front door where we kept spare keys. My parents' key was labeled in my mother's handwriting because she believed labels made possession official. I removed it from the ring. The family group chat had 32 unread messages. Most were from Diane. Frank had sent, "Please answer your mother," followed 8 minutes later by, "Maybe tomorrow." I left the group. Then I placed their key in an envelope, set it beside my purse, and turned off every light in the house. For the first time in my adult life, nobody in my family could reach me. Nothing terrible happened. That was the beginning of everything. The next morning, the coffee tasted the same. That offended me. I had expected bitterness, ash, some physical proof that my life had split during the night. Instead, the machine beeped, the refrigerator hummed, and the coffee was slightly too weak because Ben usually measured it. I drank it anyway. At 8:15, my mother's prescription reminder appeared on my calendar. Refill, Diane cholesterol. I deleted it. At 8:17, guilt made me restore it. At 8:18, I deleted it again and emptied the trash. That was harder than leaving the family group chat. I drove to my parents' house before work and pushed the envelope containing their key through the mail slot. I could hear Diane moving in the kitchen. A cabinet closed. Water ran. For one reckless second, I wanted her to open the door and see me crouched on the porch like a burglar returning evidence. She did not. I left. By noon, I had 6 voicemails. The first was Diane asking whether the key was some kind of statement. The second was Frank saying, "Your mother wants to know if this is some kind of statement." The third was Diane explaining that families should not communicate through unlabeled envelopes, even though she had labeled the key herself. The fourth was from an aunt in Cincinnati who began with, "I don't know what happened and I don't want to get involved," then remained involved for 4 minutes and 11 seconds. The fifth was my mother again. The sixth was silence, followed by Frank whispering, "I think I called you with my leg. I saved that one." Ben did not call. He sent one message at 6. "I found a furnished apartment. I can stay there for 3 months. I'll need to pick up the rest of my clothes when you're ready. No rush." I stared at the words. Furnished apartment. It sounded both temporary and terribly organized. I replied, "Saturday at 10. He wrote, "Okay." No apology. No heart. No attempt to keep me talking. I resented him for respecting me so efficiently. My mother came to the house Friday evening. I saw her through the front window holding a grocery bag. She rang the bell twice, waited, then knocked in the rhythm she used when she believed a door was being rude. I opened it but left the storm door closed. "I brought soup. I have food. It's not for you, it's for Ben. He doesn't live here right now, I know that." "Then why bring it here?" She looked down at the bag as if it had changed destinations without consulting her. I thought he might come by. Why? To talk. He has my phone number, which you don't answer. I answer him. That hurt her. I saw it. "You'll speak to the man who kissed your sister, but not your own mother. He admitted what he did. So did Vanessa." "No, Vanessa told you she won. She was emotional. She was drinking champagne. That was my mistake." It was the first admission Diane had made, and for half a second, hope rose in me like an idiot. Then she said, "But your reaction has become completely disproportionate." Hope sat back down. What would be proportionate? Take a few days, get counseling, stop humiliating your sister. How am I humiliating her? "You left the group chat." Was it a secret group chat? You know what I mean, I don't. "She's barely eating." Then bring her the soup. Diane tightened her grip on the bag. "She's at work." Good. She has somewhere to be. She has made mistakes, Claire, but she is still your sister, and Ben is still my husband. Those words didn't protect me. My mother stepped closer to the glass. I did not make him kiss her. No, you just spent months telling her he was available if I failed to appreciate him correctly. Vanessa had not said those exact words. I watched Diane's face to see if the accusation found something true. It did. Her eyes moved away. What did she tell you? Enough. Vanessa was vulnerable. You gave her permission. I told her you were taking your marriage for granted. I told her to be supportive of both of you. You told her somebody else would make Ben feel first. Diane's mouth opened, then closed. It was an observation. To the woman texting him every night. I didn't know that. You knew enough to enjoy being right. That is cruel. No, cruel was telling Vanessa my husband was hungry and hoping she'd feed him so I'd finally learn to cook. I never wanted this. You wanted me corrected. This is just messier than you pictured. She looked older then, not defeated, just tired in a way she usually prevented by transferring work to me. Your father has an appointment Tuesday. I almost laughed. With who? The cardiologist. Is he having symptoms? It's his regular checkup. Then why are you telling me? He doesn't like driving downtown. You drive. I hate that parking garage. Call Vanessa. Diane's expression changed. Vanessa is working. So am I. She can't leave the hotel in the middle of a shift. Neither can I. You've always managed. There it was, clean as a bell. I'm not managing anymore. Because you want to punish us. No, because you taught everyone that needing me was the same as loving me. She stared at me through the glass. Then she set the grocery bag on the porch and walked away. I left the soup outside until morning. Ben arrived Saturday at 9:58. He carried 2 empty duffel bags and a cardboard box. His hair had been cut. Not styled differently, just cut, but the missing half-inch made him look like a person I had not approved. Early, I said. 2 minutes. It's suspicious. I can drive around the block. I opened the door wider. He stepped inside and stopped near the entryway as if the house had become someone else's. You can go upstairs. Okay. I followed him. He packed quietly. Shirt, socks, the gray sweater I liked, his running shoes. He left the old college sweatshirt with a hole near the collar. You forgot that. I thought I'd leave some things. Why? He held a folded shirt against his chest. I don't know. Because taking everything feels like deciding. It does. If you want it gone, I'll take it. I sat on the bed. Have you talked to Vanessa? No. Has she contacted you? From 2 different numbers. My head lifted. I blocked her after the message. She called from the hotel desk and then from your mom's phone. What did she say? I didn't answer the first. Diane left a voicemail on the second. About what? She said Vanessa needed closure. I laughed. What? My mother believes closure is something other people owe Vanessa. I deleted it. He put the shirt into the duffel. Are you seeing someone? His hands stopped. A therapist, he said. That's not what I meant. I know. No. When did you find a therapist? Monday. How? The internet. That fast. I picked the first person with an opening who didn't use the phrase journey to your best self. I smiled before I could stop myself. He saw it and looked away, which was somehow kinder than taking advantage of it. What do you talk about? I asked. Mostly why I need people to think I'm a good man more than I need to behave like one. That sounds expensive. It is. The smile faded between us. He sat in the chair where he had confessed. I've been thinking about what you said, about the 100 decisions. I didn't ask you to. I know, you say that a lot. I'm trying to stop defending myself. Is that what the therapist told you? No. She told me I use insight like a substitute for change. I looked down at my hands. That sounds expensive too. I deserve that. Don't do that. What? Turn everything I say into a chance to prove you're accountable. It makes me feel like I'm grading you. He nodded, then caught himself before saying anything. It was almost funny. What do you want, Ben? You. The answer came without hesitation. My chest tightened. But I don't think wanting you gives me the right to ask for anything right now, he continued. I want you to know I'm not with Vanessa. I'm not waiting for you to get over it. I'm trying to understand why I let being unhappy become permission to be disloyal. You were unhappy. Yes. With me. Partly. Say it. He took a breath. I was unhappy with you. The words hurt less than the softened versions. You always chose the crisis, he said. Sometimes I wanted to matter before something went wrong. I should have told you that and stayed in the room until you heard it. Instead, I told Vanessa because she made me feel uncomplicated. She didn't know you. That was the appeal. I looked at him. There it was. Not love, not destiny, not a superior connection. Relief. Vanessa had received the version of him with no grocery lists, no history, no memory of whose turn it was to call the plumber. I also liked being the easy husband, he said. I complained that you handled everything, but I let you. Then I blamed you for being tired. I stood and walked to the window. On the lawn, the grass had grown too high near the fence. Ben usually noticed before I did. Do you want a divorce? He asked. I don't know. Okay. I want a separation. We're separated. I mean a real one. Not 3 months furnished. No assumption that you're coming back. His face went pale. How long? I don't know. Are we seeing other people? I'm not. Neither am I. That's your choice. No. It's part of what I'm asking for. I turned. You don't get to ask me to be faithful after kissing my sister. His eyes closed briefly. You're right. I hated the answer. I need 3 weeks without you contacting me unless it's about the house or something necessary. 3 weeks. Yes. Then what? I don't know. He stood, lifted the duffel bags, and left the old sweatshirt in the drawer. At the bedroom door, he turned. I'm sorry I made honesty feel like another thing you had to drag out of someone. Then he walked downstairs. I heard the front door close. Sunday arrived with no dinner invitation. At 4, I began chopping 1 potato, then realized I was making the anniversary meal from habit. I put the knife down. My phone rang from an unfamiliar number. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, the transcription appeared. Claire, it's Dad. Your mother's phone is dead and Vanessa can't come. We can't find the reservation email for dinner, and your mother is having one of her episodes about time. If you know where it is, call me. I had made the reservation. I knew the confirmation number by memory. I also knew the restaurant could find it under their last name. My thumb hovered over the number. Then I set the phone face down. At 6:30, Frank sent a text from his own phone. Found it. Nothing terrible had happened. They were only beginning to discover how many things they could do without me. They did not discover independence gracefully. My mother drove Frank to the cardiologist and called me from the parking garage because she could not find the exit. Follow the arrows, I said. There are 6 arrows. The green ones say exit. I see that. Then why did you call? Because you know this garage. I closed my eyes. Mom, I'm at work. So am I, apparently. I've been circling for 15 minutes. In the background, Frank said, We passed that blue car already. You have a smartphone, I said. Use the map. It won't know we're inside. It will once you leave. If I could leave, I wouldn't need the map. My mother had always been able to transform a solved problem into an argument against the solution. Ask the attendant. There is no attendant. A man's voice came through her speaker. Ma'am, you need to keep moving. Apparently there is an attendant, I said. Claire, you can do this. I don't appreciate the condescension. I'm not being condescending. I'm refusing to drive downtown and extract you from a parking structure. I never asked you to. She hung up. 20 minutes later, Frank texted, out. I sent a thumbs up. He replied, Your mother says that feels sarcastic. It was. Vanessa began receiving the calls I no longer answered. I knew because she left me a voicemail on the 9th day of silence. Mom has called me 7 times about Dad's retirement dinner. She wants candles, but not birthday candles, and she says restaurant candles look impersonal. I don't know what she expects me to do with that. Call me. I deleted the message. The next day, another arrived. Dad wants some slideshow, but half the pictures are in your attic. I'm not going into your house, obviously. I'm just telling you so nobody can say I didn't. Then, after a pause, this is exactly what you wanted. That one I saved. Not because it was true, because it explained what Vanessa believed consequences were. If she had to carry anything I had once carried, I must have placed it in her arms out of revenge. Frank was retiring from the electrical supply company, where he had worked for 38 years. His actual job involved industrial purchasing, though when anyone asked, he said, "I keep idiots from ordering the wrong wire." He had postponed retirement 3 times because he did not know what mornings were for if nobody needed him to be annoyed by 9. The dinner was supposed to be simple. 20 people in the private room of an Italian restaurant. Diane had made it a referendum on whether his life had mattered. On the 12th day, he appeared at my office carrying my travel mug. The receptionist called and said, "There's a man here who says he's your father. He also says the ficus needs water. That's him." Frank stood beside the reception desk in a windbreaker, staring at the ficus with concern. "You left this at the cabin," he said, handing me the mug. "You drove 20 minutes to return a mug? It's a good mug." It was not. The lid leaked. I led him to an empty conference room. He sat and looked through the glass wall at people walking past. "This place always this quiet? It's an office. Where are the machines? We have printers." He nodded as though my career had been explained and found disappointing. "What do you need, Dad?" "Nothing. You brought Mom's folder." He looked down. A blue folder rested on his lap. "She's planning the retirement thing. I heard. It's gotten out of hand. It was born out of hand. She wants you involved." "No. She says Vanessa doesn't follow through." I laughed. Frank's mouth twitched. "Don't tell your mother I said that. You didn't. She did. That distinction won't help me. What do you want?" He rubbed his thumb along the edge of the folder. "For things to be normal." Normal was me doing all this. You were good at it. That doesn't mean it was good for me. He looked through the glass again. "Your mother misses you. She misses access. That's not fair. She tried to bring soup to Ben at my house. She made too much. She bought it." His eyebrows rose. "How do you know? It was from DeLuca's. She left the receipt in the bag." Frank nodded slowly. "That explains why it tasted good." I smiled despite myself. He leaned forward. "I know what happened was bad." "Which part?" "All of it." "Then why are you here asking me to plan a party? I'm asking you to come back." "To what?" "Your family. I didn't stop being related to you. You stopped answering." "I answer when you call as yourself." He understood that. His face changed. "Your mother thinks you're punishing her. Mom thinks any boundary is a punishment because she's always been on the comfortable side of it. I don't know what that means." "Yes, you do." He sat back. "Family love should survive mistakes." Why does that principle only ever require my survival? He opened his mouth and looked down at the folder. I waited. Finally, he said, "I didn't protect you at that dinner." "No. I thought if I agreed with your mother, she'd calm down and then we could get to the real conversation." "The real conversation was that Vanessa wanted my husband and you thought I should accept it." "I never thought that. You said she won." "I was trying to put words to something I didn't understand. You understood enough to pour a glass." He stared at his hands. "I'm sorry." The apology was quiet. No explanation attached. I let it exist. "I'll come to your retirement dinner," I said. "I won't plan it. I won't arrive early. I won't bring candles, fix the slideshow, or solve whatever goes wrong." His shoulders lowered. "That's fair. And if Mom uses it to ambush me, I leave." He looked guilty quickly enough to make me suspicious. "What? Nothing." "Dad." "She's invited Ben." The room seemed to lose sound. "Why?" "She thinks it would be good." "For who?" "She said he's still family." She called him? I think she texted. Did he answer? I don't know. I stood. Tell her not to do that. I did. What did she say? That she doesn't need permission to invite people to my retirement dinner. It's your dinner. That argument did not perform as well as you'd think. I walked him to reception. At the door, he stopped. Are you ever going to forgive him? I don't know. He nodded. Different from no. Don't turn it into yes. I won't. He carried the blue folder out with him. 3 weeks after Ben packed his duffel bags, a message appeared at exactly 10 in the morning. It's been 3 weeks. Can I call? I stared at it until 10:08. Yes. The phone rang immediately. Hi, he said. His voice felt more intimate than his body had the last time I saw him. Hi. How are you? I don't know. Okay. We breathed at each other. I heard from Diane, he said. I know. She invited me to Frank's dinner. Are you going? Not unless you're comfortable. She shouldn't have invited you. No. Did she say I wanted you there? A pause. She said the family was ready to heal, which isn't an answer. No, she implied you knew. I almost admired my mother's efficiency. She could manipulate 2 people with a passive verb. What did you tell her? That I would speak to you. Good. Silence again. Do you want to meet? He asked. Somewhere public, coffee. You think I'm going to attack you? No. I think the house makes everything feel like we're rehearsing coming home. That was perceptive enough to irritate me. We met at a coffee shop neither of us liked. The chairs were metal, the music was too loud, and the menu described ordinary toast as curated. Ben stood when I approached. You cut your hair, I said. 3 weeks ago. I noticed. He waited for me to sit. There were new lines beneath his eyes. Or I had gained permission to see old ones. We talked for an hour, not about forgiveness, about the apartment, the house, therapy, and whether we should close the shared credit card Vanessa had once used to order pizza and never removed from her account. She tried it Tuesday, Ben said. What? A charge got declined. $46 from the hotel restaurant. She still has the number, apparently. Did you tell her? No, I canceled the card and ordered replacements. It was an ordinary marriage task. For a moment, we were simply 2 people solving it. Then I remembered why Vanessa could not text either of us to ask. Have you spoken to her? No. My mother? 1 voicemail. I didn't answer. Dad? He sent me a picture of a loose hinge. That's basically an emotional disclosure. Ben smiled. I missed the exact shape of that smile. Missing it did not feel like forgiveness. It felt like injury with a memory. I'm not ready to decide anything, I said. I know. I want to hate you more cleanly than I do. He looked down at his coffee. I don't know what to say to that. Good. I usually do. I know. This time, we both smiled. He told me his therapist had asked what he would do if I never took him back. What did you say? That I would still have to become someone who wouldn't do this again. I looked toward the window. Outside, a woman was trying to parallel park while a man on the sidewalk gave instructions she had not requested. Do you believe that? I asked. I'm trying to behave like it's true before I know. That answer stayed with me. I agreed to meet him once a week. Not dates. Not counseling yet. Conversations where neither of us could use my family as the entire explanation for what had happened. As we stood to leave, he asked about the retirement dinner. Dad wants me there, I said. Do you want me there? No. His face closed, but he nodded. I also don't want Mom deciding you can't come because I'm too fragile to see you. He waited. If you want to celebrate Dad, come. But don't come for me, and don't let her make you part of some reconciliation scene. I won't. We walked into the parking lot separately. At my car, Ben stopped 6 feet away. I miss you. I know, I'm not saying it to get anything. I miss you too. His eyes filled, but he did not move closer. Neither did I. That was the first time distance between us felt like something we had chosen together. It was also the last quiet thing my family allowed before the dinner. By the night of my father's retirement dinner, Ben and I had met 4 times. Once for coffee. Once for a walk that became 6 miles because neither of us knew how to stop the conversation. Once at a diner where he ordered the wrong pie and ate it anyway. Once in the parking lot of a hardware store after Frank sent both of us separate messages about the same hinge. We were not back together. We were also no longer pretending the only possibilities were marriage or hatred. That distinction seemed too complicated for my mother. I arrived at the restaurant at 6:30, the exact time printed on the invitation. Diane stood in the lobby beside an easel holding a photograph of Frank from 1988. He had darker hair, larger glasses, and the expression of a man who had just been informed that someone else had selected the wire. My mother looked at her watch. "You're late. It says 6:30. Family was coming at 6. That was not on my invitation. You knew there would be things to do. I told Dad I wasn't coming early. He assumed you didn't mean it. Dad knows me better than that." She had dressed in navy blue with a silver necklace I gave her 5 Christmases earlier. Seeing it around her neck felt intimate and irritating. "Where's Vanessa?" I asked, inside having a crisis about the slideshow. "Then I'm glad I came after 6. My mother exhaled through her nose. "Please don't start." I said hello. "You know what I mean." A server carried a tray of wine glasses past us. Diane stepped aside, then lowered her voice. "Ben is here." "I know. You knew?" "He told me he was coming." Her face changed. She had wanted the information to belong to her. "I'm glad you two are communicating. We've always communicated. Sometimes with insufficient judgment. Is that a joke?" "Barely." She reached for my arm. This could be a good night. For Dad? For everyone. I moved before her hand settled. "Don't." Her mouth tightened. "I'm trying, Claire." "To do what? Bring my family back together. You keep saying that as if we wandered off in a mall." I entered the private room. 20 adults stood around 3 round tables beneath strings of amber lights. Men who had worked with my father for decades wore jackets that fit like punishment. Their spouses held wine and spoke in the careful, enthusiastic voices people use when they know there has been a family scandal, but not which version is safe. Frank stood near the bar accepting retirement jokes with the grave patience of a person receiving condolences. When he saw me, his whole face relaxed. "You came. I said I would." He hugged me, less improvised than usual. "Your mother thought you might change your mind. Mom thinks promises are only binding when I make them to her." He glanced toward the lobby. "I'm not touching that. Retirement already suits you." He smiled. Ben stood across the room talking to one of Frank's co-workers. He wore the dark green shirt I bought him the previous Christmas. When our eyes met, he gave me a small nod. He did not cross the room. I was grateful and disappointed in equal measure. Vanessa appeared beside me holding a laptop. The projector won't recognize the adapter. "Hello to you too." "Hi." The projector won't recognize the adapter. She looked tired. Not fragile, not transformed by remorse. Just tired. Her hair was pinned back too tightly and a small muscle moved near her jaw. "Ask the restaurant. They said it isn't their equipment." "Whose is it?" "Dad's company lent it." "Then ask one of the electrical supply people." "It's not electrical. Everything is electrical if you ask Dad." She stared at me. "You said you'd come. I came. I thought that meant you'd help." "Why?" "Because it's Dad's retirement." "Then you should have tested the slideshow before tonight." "I was working." "So was I." Her expression hardened. "Fine." She turned and nearly collided with a server carrying bread. 10 minutes later, one of Frank's co-workers fixed the projector by pressing a button on the side. Vanessa did not tell me which button. An aunt from Toledo hugged me and whispered, "I'm so glad you girls are getting past all this." "Are we?" She drew back. "Well, your mother said there was a misunderstanding. What did she say was misunderstood?" The aunt looked toward Diane. Just that Vanessa was vulnerable and Ben was helping, and feelings got confused. Whose feelings? She took a large drink of wine. I don't remember the details. She remembered enough to approach me. At the table, my place card was beside Ben's. Vanessa sat across from us. Diane sat beside her. Frank sat between my mother and one of his oldest friends, which gave him the tactical position of a man who could pretend not to hear either daughter. Ben waited until everyone else was speaking before leaning toward me. I didn't know about the seating, I assumed. Do you want me to move? No. Are you sure? No. His mouth twitched. That's clear. Welcome to my family. Dinner began with salad and technical difficulties. The slideshow advanced by itself every 12 seconds, whether the speaker had finished or not. Frank's career passed in a series of fluorescent warehouses, trade shows, retirement cakes for other people, and group photographs where every man looked surprised to be documented. A photograph of Frank asleep at his desk appeared. The room erupted. My father pointed at the screen. Lunch break. It says 10:15 on the clock, Vanessa said. Different lunch. Even I laughed. For a while, the evening belonged to him. People told stories about his loyalty, his terrible phone manners, and his ability to identify wire gauge by sight. One former colleague said Frank had once driven 3 hours on Christmas Eve to fix an order nobody else had noticed was wrong. I looked at my father. He had always known how to show up when the problem had a part number. When dessert arrived, he stood to speak. I didn't write anything, he began. Diane looked alarmed. You said you wrote something. I thought about writing something. That's not the same. Saved paper. Everyone laughed. Frank gripped the back of his chair. I worked with some of you longer than I've known what to talk about with my own family. The room quieted. That sounded bad. It was honest, I said. He looked at me. I'm not good at speeches. I'm not good at retirement. I'm good at knowing where things go and noticing when they're wrong. Diane lowered her eyes. My wife put up with 38 years of me coming home irritated at people she never met. My daughters learned not to ask how the day went unless they wanted names and purchase order numbers. More laughter. Frank looked at Vanessa, then me. They also did a lot for us. One of them did more than I noticed. My throat tightened. Diane turned toward him. He did not look at her. I'm trying to notice now, he said. Then he raised his glass. To all of you, even the idiots who ordered the wrong wire. The applause gave me somewhere to hide. My mother stood before everyone had finished clapping. I would also like to say something. Frank sat down with the resigned expression of a man who had known retirement would not solve everything. Diane placed one hand on his shoulder. A marriage lasting 42 years and a career lasting 38 have something important in common. Commitment. You do not throw people away when they disappoint you. Across the table, Vanessa stopped moving. Ben's hand tightened around his water glass. My mother continued. Our family has experienced a painful misunderstanding. But I believe love is bigger than mistakes, and I'm grateful that all the people who belong at this table have come back to it. Several relatives looked at their plates. I stood. Sit down, Diane said softly, still smiling for the room. I'm leaving. Claire, this is your father's dinner. It was. Frank pushed back his chair. Diane. She looked at him surprised. I'm only saying family deserves grace. Ben stood beside me. My mother's smile became brittle. See? You're healing. No, I said. You seated us together and wrote an ending without asking either of us. I did not assign the seats. Vanessa stared at her. You made the place cards, Frank said. That is not the point. Then what is? I asked. Are we here to celebrate Dad or to make everyone pretend you didn't toast my marriage ending? A murmur moved through the room. Diane lowered her voice. This is exactly the public humiliation I wanted to avoid. You invited the public. Vanessa stood. Can everyone stop talking like I'm not here? Nobody answered. She looked at Ben. You didn't have to come. I came for Frank. Of course. Diane touched her arm. Vanessa. No. She gets to stand there beside him and act like I invented everything. You lied, I said. Her eyes flashed toward me. I was wrong about what he would do. That isn't the same as lying. You told Mom he chose you after he told you he never would. I thought he was afraid. Of me? Yes. The word came out loud enough to reach every table. Ben set down his glass. I was not afraid of Claire. Vanessa's face changed. You said she made every decision. I said I let her. You said you felt invisible. I did. You said you waited all day to hear from me. Ben went still. The room became painfully quiet. He did not deny it. I did, he said. Vanessa looked around as if she had finally produced the missing evidence. See? No, Ben said. You don't get to use my disloyalty as proof that Claire deserved it. Her mouth opened. He continued, his voice calm. I liked your attention. I complained about my wife to you. I waited for your messages. Then I kissed you back. Those were my choices, and they were betrayals. Diane stepped forward. Ben, this is not appropriate. You invited me. Frank covered his mouth, but I saw the beginning of a smile. Ben looked at Vanessa. I did not choose you. I told you that at the hotel. I sent it again in writing because you refused to hear me. Vanessa's face emptied. Around us, forks remained suspended over cake. Diane said, she was confused. She read his message before you told Aunt Linda it was a misunderstanding, I said. Aunt Linda became deeply interested in her frosting. My mother looked at Vanessa. Is that true? Vanessa did not answer. Tell her, I said. Why? So you can win? There is no prize here. You have Ben standing beside you. I looked at him. Then I stepped away. His face flickered, but he understood. No, I said. I have a husband who betrayed me and is trying to become someone I might choose again. That is not winning. It is work I did not ask for. Vanessa stared at the space I had created between us. He said there was no situation where we would be together, she whispered. Diane's hand fell from her shoulder. When? The night of the dinner. The champagne dinner? Frank asked. Vanessa nodded. You knew while your mother kept telling people Ben had chosen you? He asked. I knew what the message said. I didn't believe it. You asked me not to tell them, I said. Diane stepped back. Why would you do that? Vanessa laughed, sudden and harsh. Why do you think? Don't speak to me that way. You told me he was miserable. My mother went still. You told me Claire treated him like another item on her list. You said if she kept making him come last, somebody else would make him feel first. I was worried about their marriage. You were excited to be right. That is not true. It is. Vanessa's voice cracked. You kept telling me I deserved someone like him. You kept seating me beside him. Every time Claire got upset, you said it proved she knew she was losing him. Diane looked around the room. This conversation is over. No, Frank said. She turned toward him. He stood slowly. For once, let it finish. My mother's face changed as if he had slapped the table. Ben picked up his jacket. I'm sorry, Frank. You didn't ruin my dinner. Frank looked at Diane. Dinner was over. Ben turned to me. He did not ask whether I was coming. He did not touch me or search my face for approval. I meant what I said, he told me quietly. Whatever you decide. Then he walked out. Vanessa watched the door close behind him. You're going after him, she said. No. She looked almost offended. But he chose you. No, I said. He finally told the truth. Those are not the same thing. The room was silent. My mother stood beside the untouched retirement cake, surrounded by every person she had invited to witness the family she believed she could arrange. Frank removed his place card from the table and tore it in half. Then he looked at me. What happens now? For the first time in my life, nobody else had prepared the answer for me. Now, I said, you eat your cake. Frank looked at the retirement cake. Across its white frosting, blue letters said, "Congratulations, Frank." He pointed at the misspelling. "Your mother ordered this." "I know." A laugh escaped him. It was quiet and tired, but it loosened something in the room. One of his former co-workers picked up a knife. "I've eaten worse for less," the man said. People began moving again, forks lowered, chairs scraped. Aunt Linda took her wine to another table with the speed of someone evacuating a weather system. My mother did not move. "You're really going to leave after doing this?" she asked. "After doing what?" "Turning his retirement dinner into a trial. You gave the opening statement." Frank closed his eyes. Diane looked at Vanessa. "You should go home." Vanessa flinched. "Why?" "You've had too much to drink." "I had 1 glass of wine." "You're emotional." "I told the truth. You blamed me for choices you made." Vanessa stared at her. The two of them stood beside each other wearing the same expression. Injured outrage at discovering love did not erase responsibility. "You encouraged me," Vanessa said. "I encouraged you to rebuild your confidence. I did not encourage you to kiss your sister's husband in a pantry. You said he deserved someone who appreciated him. That was an observation. You keep calling instructions observations." My mother turned to me. "Are you enjoying this?" "No." The answer came easily. That seemed to confuse her more than anger would have. "I'm going home," I said. Frank touched my elbow. "Stay for one piece." I looked at him. He had apologized. He had told the truth when it cost him comfort. He was also asking me, again, to remain in a room where everyone else's feelings had already become my assignment. No. His hand fell. Then he nodded. "All right." I hugged him. "Congratulations. Spell it correctly next time. I didn't order the cake." "I know." Vanessa followed me into the hallway. Claire. I kept walking until we reached the lobby. The easel photograph of Frank watched us with stern, outdated glasses. "I am sorry," she said. "You're sorry because Ben said it in front of everyone." "No. I was sorry before. You went to his hotel with a bag. I thought he wanted me. He wanted attention." Her face tightened. "You don't have to make me feel cheap. I don't have to make you feel anything. I know I did something awful. You did a lot of awful things." The kiss was just the one I could see. She looked toward the private room. Diane's voice had risen again, though the words were indistinct. "I didn't wake up wanting to ruin your marriage." "I believe you." Vanessa blinked. That was not the response she expected. "You were lonely," I said. "You were humiliated. Mom spent months telling you Ben's unhappiness meant there was room for you. I understand how you got there." Her eyes filled. "But it doesn't excuse what you did. I knew there'd be a but. There should be." She wiped beneath one eye. "What happens to us? I don't know. You always know." "No. I usually decide because everyone waits until I do." The restaurant door opened behind us, letting in warm evening air. "I can't be your sister right now," I said. Her mouth trembled. "You don't get to decide that alone. I get to decide whether you have access to me. So that's it? For now." "How long?" "I don't know." She laughed bitterly. "You and Ben really have the same script." "No. Ben learned to accept that my uncertainty belongs to me." I walked out. His car was gone. I stood in the parking lot and felt the old urge to locate him, comfort him, reward him for finally doing the right thing. Instead, I drove home alone. The old college sweatshirt was still in the drawer. I took it out, held it against my chest, and put it back. Frank called the next morning. "I'm not calling for your mother." "Good. She is furious," I assumed. "She says you made her look like a monster." "I didn't make her say anything." I told her that. I sat up in bed. "You did?" She asked me to choose a side. "What did you say?" "That I chose retirement." I laughed. Then he said, "I told her she was wrong." The laughter left. "How did that go?" "I slept in the recliner." "Your back will hate that. It already does." I waited for him to ask me to fix something. He did not. I'm sorry I let her use me to get you to that champagne dinner, he said. And I'm sorry I said Vanessa won. I knew it was wrong while I was saying it. Why did you say it? Because your mother had been talking for an hour and I wanted the conversation to end. That's a terrible reason. I know. You let me pay for your quiet. Yes. It was not a pretty apology. It was better. It named the transaction. I'm still angry with you. You should be. Don't tell Mom what I say to you. I won't. And don't call me when she wants something. I won't. Call me when you want something. He was quiet. I wanted to hear your voice. I closed my eyes. Okay. For a while, my relationship with my father happened in pieces. Coffee near my office, a phone call about a movie he hated, a photograph of a hinge he fixed himself. He did not ask me to return to Sunday dinner. My mother sent messages instead. I'm ready to talk when you can be calm. Then, 3 days later, your father is very upset by this division. Frank followed with, I am eating a sandwich. I saved that one too. Diane's requests kept arriving in the shape of invitations. Dinner, a day at the cabin, help choosing a new phone. Each ended with some version of life is too short. I answered once. Life was also too long to keep doing this. She did not respond for 2 weeks. Vanessa lasted longer. Then a padded envelope arrived with no note. Inside was the old mystery paperback from her apartment. The cracked spine opened naturally to page 42. Vanessa thinks every man is in love with her. Beneath it, she had added in fresh blue ink. Turns out, I only needed one to be. I stared at the sentence for a long time. Then I wrote underneath it, he wasn't. I put the book back into the envelope but did not mail it. A week later, she called from her own number. I shouldn't have written that. No, I was angry. You're often angry after hurting someone. So are you. Yes. The agreement silenced her. I'm seeing a therapist, she said. Is there a family discount? She laughed before catching herself. I deserved that. You sound like Ben. I hate that. We met at her apartment. The bookcase still leaned slightly left. Frank had been right. The dying fern had produced one bright green leaf. Vanessa made coffee and forgot to put grounds in the machine. We sat at the small table with mugs of hot water. I envied you, she said. I know. No, you knew I wanted your clothes and your house and the fact that Mom trusted you with things. I envied that you could survive being disliked. I almost interrupted. She continued. Aaron leaving made me feel like everybody had finally figured out I wasn't worth the trouble. Then Ben listened to me. He looked forward to me. He did. She flinched at my willingness to admit it. I thought if someone chose me over you, it would prove I wasn't the weak one. You wanted to win, yes. Mom taught you there was always a winner. She taught both of us. No, she taught you to want the prize. She taught me to hand it over before you cried. Vanessa looked down into her empty coffee. That's fair. Fair isn't the same as forgiven. I know. She said it in her own voice, not Ben's. I'm not asking you to trust me, she said. I don't trust me yet. That surprised me. She pushed the paperback across the table. I'm sorry. This time she did not attach an explanation. I took the book. When I left, we did not hug. Ben and I continued meeting. Some conversations were careful and productive. Some ended with me crying in my car while he sat in his own car 20 feet away because I had asked him not to follow me. He never said Vanessa had manipulated him. He never let me place all the blame on her, even when doing so would have made our marriage easier to save. I used her too, he said. I liked that she only knew the parts of me I chose to show, and I knew too much. You knew everything. That isn't the same as liking it. No. We began counseling together, but nothing dramatic happened there. No perfect sentence unlocked us. We talked about how he disappeared into pleasantness until resentment gave him permission to become cruel. We talked about how I confused being needed with being safe. We talked about the 100 decisions before the kiss. Then we made different decisions. Ben told me when he was angry before the anger became polished enough for an audience. I said no to my family without explaining for 20 minutes. He stopped turning accountability into a performance. I stopped rewarding every honest admission by immediately making him comfortable. At the end of summer, I invited him to dinner at the house. "Is this a date?" he asked from the porch. "It's chicken." That did not answer the question. I learned from my mother. He smiled, then waited. I had changed nothing in the entryway. His jacket was still on the floor where I had dropped it the night of the champagne dinner. I had stepped around it for months out of anger, then habit, then a strange tenderness toward the woman who had finally refused to pick it up. Ben saw it. "Can I move that?" "Yes." He hung it in the closet. We ate at the kitchen table. No Vanessa. No parents. No emergency being translated through 3 phones. After dinner, Ben washed the plates. "You missed a spot," I said. "Where?" "There." He held the plate toward the light. "There is no spot. I wanted to see how you'd react to criticism. This marriage has become a laboratory." I laughed. He dried his hands and leaned against the counter. "I don't want to move back because dinner went well. Good. I want to move back if we decide we're building something different. I don't want a new marriage." His face fell. "I want ours," I said. "But I want the version where we stop acting like history excuses us." He looked at me for a long moment. "Can I come home slowly?" "How slowly?" "1 bag." I thought about the 4 suitcases Vanessa had brought to her apartment, how quickly we had all rushed to carry them. 1 bag, I said. Ben returned 2 days later with a duffel and no assumption that the bedroom belonged to him. For the first week, he slept in the guest room. Then one night, I stood outside the door with my hand raised, as I had months earlier. This time, I knocked. My mother was still outside the life she assumed I would rebuild for her. Frank visited alone. Vanessa and I exchanged occasional messages that did not pretend trust had returned. The night Ben moved back into our bedroom, my phone rang from the kitchen. "Diane." I looked at the screen until it went dark. "Do you need to call her?" Ben asked. No. He did not congratulate me. He simply turned down the bed. I opened the drawer and took out his old college sweatshirt. "You forgot this." "I left it." "I know." I handed it to him. He pulled it over his head and the collar settled crooked against his neck. Familiar, damaged, still his. Then he reached for me and stopped before touching my hand. I closed the distance. For once, nobody had won. We went downstairs and ate the leftover chicken before it got cold.